I got a question for you, dear listener. Are you a bodacious gamer? Think you have what it takes to skateboard down the Great Wall? Will you back down from a good Donnybrook? And most importantly, can you sit through 2 hours of us two dudes yapping about Simpsons games of yore? Good, because it's time to play Bart versus the World. Welcome in to episode 4 of Lee Carvallo's Podding Challenge, a Simpsons gaming podcast. It looks at the highs and lows of the Simpsons tie-in video games, plus the shitty gaming industry that shaped them. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy.
And I'm your other host, Derek. And I was also going to reference Donnybrook because I just learned that word today.
I knew it.
But I guess I'll just say I'm Derek, and I'm excited to talk about a game full of just wonderful, non-stereotypical, sensitive portrayals of people around the world.
It's very respectful of other cultures.
Yeah. Look,
100%.
1991. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, if you haven't caught the gist yet, because 1, we just said the name, and 2, we just referenced it. Today we're talking about a game that sees Bart and the Simpsons family traveling across the globe. We're talking about the follow-up to Bart versus the Space Mutants. It's the second game released on the NES, Bart versus the World. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I think that there are some aspects of going to other countries and other places around the world that they do a really cool thing with. But yeah, there's some unfortunateness to it as well.
Yeah, look, I think, okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't surprised, I guess, is all that I'll say. It's because it's not, the thing is, honestly, too, it's still not as bad as it could have been. I think that this game only being like 4 places they go, and one of them is the North Pole, the other one's Hollywood. So it's like, well, you know what? They still managed to work in a couple of kind of racist things into the North Pole thing at the end. But
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It could have been a lot worse, I guess is all I'll say. And you know what? They even weirdly kind of dodge stuff with Egypt because they're sort of like, they just pretend that Egypt is still ancient Egypt, which in itself is like a kind of weird racist stereotype thing. But at least when you're looking at it, you can just pretend Bart just went back in time, I guess. You know, like,
yeah.
I think it kind of dodges some stuff. The stuff that's in it isn't great, but it could have been way worse. It's just, you know, if a game about going around the world made in 1991 that's supposed to be a comedy, I'm not surprised, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I think there was probably a version of this game that was way worse than this was. Not saying that like it was good, some of the stuff they did, but yeah, you're 100% right on that. And I was scrolling around because you get like at the end of levels, Krusty saying like, that's this language for X. And like one of them was interesting. One of them was I'm trying to find where it went. It was at the end of Egypt.
At the end of Egypt? Well, that one's interesting because he says it's ancient Egyptian and it's actually just Arabic.
Arabic. Yeah, actually, yeah. No, you're totally right. Yeah. Never mind.
Alf Mabruk or Mabruk. I think it's Alf Mabruk. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it's spelled wrong in the game anyway. Like from how you would, it doesn't, it's like all, you know, phonetic translation. So it's not like but the accepted spelling of it you would find would either be like B-R-O-U-K or B-R-O-O-K, and it's B-R-U-K in the game. Probably a character limit thing more than anything, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. Either way, like it does mean congratulations. I think he says it means 1,000 congratulations, which is like I don't know. I don't think that that's exactly true, but that's a thing that's like known, like as an idiom. It is an actual true thing.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, as far as I was able to find, it does look like that is it is like if you directly translate it, it's like 1,000 congratulations or 1,000 blessings or something like that. From what I found, but I think it's like one of those things where it's like in German, when you say, one of the ways you can say happy birthday to someone is herzlichen Glückwunsch zum Geburtstag, which is like heartfelt wishes on your birthday, but like when it's just like happy birthday, like, you know what I mean, like it's just kind of like it kind of translates into that. So anyway, I forgot about the misspelling of it and also them calling it just ancient Egyptian. But
I mean, there's a few things like that where it's like, oh, you didn't have Google back then, so it was a little bit harder. They tried to be a little bit worldly with this game, literally. You know, I can see some places where there is some good faith efforts to like have something different and honestly like weirdly like teach kids some little lessons, even if they were not always right.
Yeah, that was exactly how I felt about, again, the Alf Mabruk, which I thought, I was like, this seems like a good faith effort, but also they just fucked it up. But you know, it is what it is. And also, one thing that we will talk about later, given the given the publisher of this game, surprised they didn't do much worse. So anyway, I thought to kick things off, we always do a fun question, and I was trying to think of something that like related to both The Simpsons and traveling the world. So I thought, why don't we talk about a fun episode, or maybe like one of our favorite episodes, where the family is in a location that is not Springfield primarily, right? Like, obviously there's a lot of different episodes where part of it's in Springfield, but part of it's somewhere else. In fact, that's what I picked. But I just wasn't sure if there was one out there that you had, Derek, that was like they travel the world or they go into space or something like that sticks out to you as a really good episode.
Kind of funny. I was thinking like Deep Space Homer would be a funny answer to that question, because they're like as far away from Springfield as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
No, mine's Itchy and Scratchy Land.
Mom, guess what? We're going to Itchy and Scratchy Land. No, I've already planned our vacation. We're going to the Highway 9 Bird Sanctuary. I understand they've installed a new bird feeder this year. It's shaped like a diner, and it's on this really tall pole.
Mom, Dad, Bart's dead! That's right, dead serious about going to Itchy and Scratchy Land.
Season 6, episode 4. Fucking love that episode. I mean, it's like it's their Simpsons are going to Disney World episode, but it's also their Jurassic Park and Westworld episode. It's fucking genius. Yeah, I love it. What about you?
Is that actually like did they reference specific? Well, it's a dumb question, but like, is Westworld, like the book, an actual inspiration for that episode? Because
I mean, it's about robots in an amusement park that end up malfunctioning and trying to kill people. So absolutely, yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
that's really funny.
I didn't know about Westworld until the show came out, right? So like, that's probably why I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But that's fascinating. I had no idea. I love that episode too, so I'll look at that with a different lens in the future. But mine is Bart on the Road.
Well, I realize it's trite, but we could tour the bridges of Madison County.
Hey, who has better vacation ideas than AAA? According to the publisher of this AAA guidebook, no one.
I've always wanted to see Macon, Georgia.
Wait, how about a fair? Not just a county fair, not just a Europe fair, but a World's Fair. The World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. Keep reading. The Hungarians have built a giant motorized Rubik's Cube, and the fair symbol is the Sun Sphere, which sits atop a 266-foot tall steel shaft. What's inside? An information desk.
Cool.
So, it's a choice between Disney World and Knoxville. Knoxville! 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 I concur.
Season 7, episode 12. That's the one where Bart lies, rents a car, and then he, Milhouse, Martin, and Nelson head to the World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah. And I actually put that one on like before we recorded and watched it. And like, so I kid you not, I still laugh out loud at so much in that episode. Like, there's so many good one-liners in that.
Yeah, it's a stellar episode. I love that one a lot too. I love all of their silly wigs that they get. It's so good. It's just such a good image. I do think it's interesting that, we're doing this game about the Simpsons going around the world, and the two that we picked are two where they primarily are in America, which I think maybe speaks to something, because the Simpsons do go out of the country very frequently. But I think most of the time, I don't know that those episodes are particularly good. There's like Bart versus Australia is like the example, and that's obviously a classic episode.
Yeah.
That episode's great. I have no problems with that episode, but I feel like that's kind of might be the only one that's like just a straight up great episode where they're going out of the country, because a lot of the other ones, like I like the one where they go to Tokyo, for example, but that one is a later era one, and it's not as good as classic Simpsons, and it has plenty of not great stereotype stuff in that episode too.
Yeah.
So I feel like you run into a lot of stuff like that, and in a lot of other places they go, it ends up being like almost the joke of the Simpsons are going to blank, and that's the whole episode, to and to the point where it just feels like it's uninspired. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that like neither of our answers were outside of America.
No, and it really, I there were a couple that like popped into my head too, but like also I had the same issue where it was like some of them was not great. Like I thought about the one where Homer is a missionary.
I really like that episode, but it's also like real awful if you revisit it.
It's real bad.
It's real bad.
Like I like it too, but like, and I feel bad saying that, but yeah, it's and I guess again, like going back to the Bart versus the world of it all, like it kind of is par for the course, I guess, for Simpsons. Not excusing it, but it makes sense that they also didn't get it right, so to speak, because the Simpsons themselves don't. A lot of the times, I did take down as I was watching it, and I'm not going to say them all, but like I forgot like how many of these lines are in the World's Fair episode. Which one of them is "Purple is a fruit," which I quote all the damn time. Like I love that line. That's when he's eating donuts, and Lisa's like, "Do you have any fruit?" And he just says, "This has purple in it. Purple's a fruit." It's like, it's so good. And then also great. After they knock the sun sphere over, Bart just saying, "Everybody remember we're parked under the sun sphere." Like that legitimately
it's so good.
Cracked me the fuck up when I was watching it again. Like so good. Like, so many just bangers in that episode.
The joke that I find myself quoting the most from the Itchin' Scratchy Land episode is where nothing can possibly go wrong.
Oh my God.
I say that in my everyday life because there's many occasions where that fits. So yeah,
for sure. And then there's in that episode, it's also where the meme comes from, where it's like,
"Back, you robot! Nobody ruins my family vacation but me and maybe the boy."
Because I just saw a meme from that today about the U.S. committing war crimes.
Yeah, so. Nobody commits war crimes except for me and maybe the boy. Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly the meme I was thinking of. All right. Well, with that out of the way, why don't we jump in and I think we can just dive in and start talking about the game.
We last left Bart Simpson battling deadly space mutants and Acclaim's best-selling video game Bart versus the Space Mutants. And now it's Bart versus the world.
Wow!
As Bart Mania continues to spread.
So Bart versus the World, this was released in December of 1991 in North America. And just as a quick reminder for listeners, I want to give the timeline of this. The Simpsons arcade game came out in March of 1991. Bart versus the Space Mutants came out in April of 1991. Then we got Bart Escapes from Camp Deadly. That was November of 91. And then this game comes out in December. That's 4 fucking games in 1 year. Most of them focused on Bart.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's weird too, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, it explains why 3 out of the 4 of these games are so similar, and just borrowing all the same assets from each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, it really does reek of just cashing in on the Bart mania as quickly as possible, And I think, I know that at the time, the view from within like the production of The Simpsons, like I think they knew that they had something special on their hands, but I think everyone expected it was going to be a flash in the pan thing, right? Like, it's a huge thing now, but we're going to burn bright and burn fast. This show's going to be over in the next couple of years. I don't think any of them, even with the success of it, really expected it to go beyond like season 4 or 5. Little did they know. But but all of that's to say, I think. And in a way that they were right, like the heights of The Simpsons never reached the heights that it is at right now in the show, right? Like with Bartmania and like season 2 and 3 era, like as good as the show continues to be for a while, the actual ratings and its saturation in pop culture, like we are right in the height of it right now. I feel like maybe like at the tail end of it. So it makes sense that these video game companies and anyone merchandising The Simpsons are going to be cashing in, like really getting their claws, and like we got to get as many of these out as possible to make our buck back from what we just licensed as soon as possible.
What's funny too is like I think a lot of I'm realizing, and I'll get to it when I get to it in the notes, but like I am curious. We should do just like some deep dive into Bartmania at some point, because I think that like in my mind, like Fox and like the showrunners are like trying to push this, but like it doesn't show necessarily in the show quite as much, right?
No.
Like, the show is very family centric.
Yeah.
And one thing that's interesting to me when I was doing research on this, the developers pushed for the games to be Bart focused, not like Groening and James L. Brooks and like Fox. They were like, we want a family show, or we want a family game that focuses on the whole family. And the developers were like, no, man, you got to do Bart. Like, so
yeah. Well, they're appealing. They're trying to appeal to the kids specifically.
Yeah.
So of course the kids are. I mean, that's where all the toys and the T-shirts also had Bart on them too, because that's the stuff that the children were going to buy.
Gangway, man! I'm out of here, man.
Come back here, you!
It's The Simpsons from Mattel.
Don't have a cow, Homer.
Not so fast!
Eat my shorts, Nelson.
Eat this! Can it, Simpson?
The Simpsons figures, sofa, and boob tube sold separately, only from Mattel.
I crumble!
Yeah, so that's actually right where I kind of had in my notes. So in an interview with Indie Gamer Chick over Twitter, Gary Kitchen, who is the lead developer on Space Mutants and worked on this game as well, he noted that for Space Mutants, like I said, Groening and then Brooks wanted it to be family centric, and then Acclaim ended up pushing against that. So Gary, this is quoting from him, said, "Frankly, Barry and I were starstruck. We brainstormed the game where each level you're controlling a different character, doing skills appropriate for who they were, and Brooks loved it. We went home and Acclaim threw a fit. They were 100% right. It was all about Bart on a skateboard." And that was in reference to Space Mutants, but it's also funny because neither of these games are about Bart on a skateboard, like primarily.
Yeah, he's on a. I mean, well, it's funny because like both of those games have points in the game where Bart is on a skateboard, and I would argue they're pretty fun parts of the game, but like as much stuff gets repeated throughout these games, I don't know why they don't have more than one Bart skateboard level in any of these games. It's so weird.
It is wild. It is such a wild choice that they just
Yeah.
Do it once in both games, and they're like, that's fine. I guess technically twice on the Great Wall, right? Like you do go, I think you go down twice. Or no, it's just a long level.
Yeah, it's still, but it's still just literally one level. I thought there was going to be a skateboard level in every level of the game, and I would have been fine. I would have been here for that. It's fun.
Yeah.
So it was surprising that it's just like, no, one and done. We're out. I'm like, I don't get it. He's on a skateboard in like the opening title screen of this game. Like, it's just really weird. Like, why did you do it if you're not going to use it?
And I should note too that interview that I was referencing was from, I think, 2020. So like it was a later interview. So this is him remembering back. So like I think he even maybe thinks that like it was more about skateboarding than it was.
It's possible.
Yeah, either way, I think that like little nugget was interesting to me because like I don't think that would happen with later games of Acclaim being able to be like, no. Like the studio wants us to do what? No, we're not doing that. We're just doing it about Bart. Like if I don't know, Disney went to Ubisoft today and was like, hey, we want a Simpsons game and we want it to be X, Y, and Z, Ubisoft would be like, yep, you got it. That's exactly what we're going to do. Like,
yes, daddy.
Right, exactly. Like there's no pushing back against that. So I just thought that was kind of fascinating that like they already started like working on it in a way to make it more family centric. And then the company was like, nah, we're not doing that. That's dumb.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. As powerful as James L. Brooks specifically was, like Fox itself wasn't the behemoth that it was soon to be yet. You know, it was still like relatively early days in its history and still kind of fledgling. Like it wasn't a fledgling network by this point, I guess, but it hadn't existed for long enough to have the sway, I think, and the cash flow to have that much influence. So I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess just kind of like jumping back into talking about the studio, let's plow through some of the folks who worked on this really fast because all of them are familiar names. So much like Space Mutants, this was developed by Imagineering and published by Acclaim. The designers were Dan Kitchen. Dan is Gary Kitchen's brother. Gary, of course, talked about just a second ago. He was the lead designer on Versus Space Mutants. Dan has worked on a ton of games, and I think we talked about him in one of the other episodes because they worked on like the same thing. But I did just want to call this out. He worked on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Ghostbusters, and then he was executive producer on Psychonauts, a game that like a lot of folks would be super familiar with. And then also, I thought this was fascinating. This isn't like his main title, but he had a bunch of those. Do you remember those Game Boy Advance cartridges that had TV shows on them? I think we might have talked about them on the last episode.
Dude, what do you mean had TV shows? Like you could play a TV show on the Game Boy?
TV shows on the go. TV shows on the go. It's GBA Video. Game Boy Advance Video.
Now Game Boy Advance plays more than games. It's got TV shows too. With GBA Video, the shows are right in the cartridges. One video pack holds multiple episodes with full color and sound. So you can watch your favorite shows whenever you want, wherever you want.
Whoa, it's TV without the TV.
TV shows on the go. TV shows on the go.
Catch the start of something big right in your hand.
It's GBA Video. Game Boy Advance Video.
So there were these, like, you could get them for the Game Boy Advance, and they would have, like, I think, like, 1 or 2 episodes of, like, Pokemon or Dragon Ball GT.
Wow.
I think Shrek, like, he even was, like, the producer for that on, like, the Game Boy Advance.
Wow. I mean, you know, watching those things the way the creators intended.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, it's funny. I mean, thinking about that, like, the PSP ended up doing that too, right? Like the PSP had like the UMD discs that you could watch. Like I had like a season of Family Guy on like PSP.
You know, I forgot that was a thing. It's funny. I mean, I guess they were ahead of the curve because people watch stuff on their smartphones all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, watching a show on your little tiny screen on a handheld device at lower quality is like what the people want anyway. So they actually hit the nail on the head.
I kind of really want to just watch something on one of those just to see what
it does seem
like.
Fun because
yeah,
I mean I'm curious how it looks. The sound quality I think is probably the thing that would suffer the most.
Oh yeah,
from that
100%,
actually.
100%. We talked about these folks as well. Roger Booth was a designer, as well as Barry Marks. Barry Marks being the individual who had written for Versus Space Mutants and then wrote for, I almost said Buffy, Sabrina later on. Also, his programmers were David Crane. Again, he was the designer for Camp Deadly, Gary Kitchen, Shenjian Long, Chung S. Lau, Mark Morris, Henry C. Will IV, and then Jesse Capilli. And then composers, Mark Van Heck, again, who did the NES score for Versus Space Mutants, and then Andrew McGinty did the score for a lot of the other consoles, which were Amiga, ST, the Sega Master System, and then the Game Gear.
Gotcha.
And like I just mentioned, the game was originally released in 91 on the NES, Amiga, Amstrad, CPC, Atari ST, Commodore 64, and ZS Spectrum. And then in 92 for the Genesis, the Sega Master System, and then the Game Gear. Again,
and you played,
everywhere.
You played this game on all of those consoles before this podcast, right?
Yeah.
All of them.
Yep. 100%. And I got all of the hidden items on every single one. No.
Nice.
I actually I should have thought about this. I should have played one on the Sega this time instead of the NES, but it is what it is. I think the score and the music is better on the NES version in this one, like, as well.
Probably, yeah.
Versus the other one. So I didn't really check it out too much.
Yeah.
And then again, Acclaim published the game on consoles, just like Space Mutants. They released under the Flying Edge moniker for Sega systems.
What does that mean?
It's just like a different publishing arm, I guess, that they use, or there was like a different name. So
Gotcha.
So for NES it was published by Acclaim, and then on Sega it was published by Flying Edge, but that was still Acclaim. I don't know. It's weird. I don't get it.
It's just a branding thing. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Virgin Games published and developed it for the Amiga, while Arc Development worked on it for the Game Gear and the Atari ST versions. Whew. That's always going to be the hardest part for these ones, where it's like there's like 12 consoles out, and it's just like, what was it on? Every fucking thing.
And 3 out of those 4 consoles, no one has heard of them in years, probably, or even knew that they existed.
Exactly. As far as the timeline, so Gary Kitchen confirmed that it was only about 6 months after they finished Space Mutants that Acclaim asked them for a sequel. I think that makes sense, just given the, like we just said, the meteoric rise of the show at the time. For the sequel, Dan and Gary have both talked about how they wanted Versus the World to take place in a setting outside of Springfield, right? So like that was just like on their mind. They wanted to do something that was outside of Springfield. In that interview with Indie Gamer Chick, and in the documentary Batteries Not Included, Gary says that the entire concept for the game was based on the idea of Bart skateboarding down the Great Wall of China.
You know?
And then
that is probably one of the most striking things from this game. Like that is the image, that is kind of the image that sticks with you, and it is kind of a genius idea, really.
It really is. And honestly, I wish they'd done more of it. Like we just
I
said.
do
Like,
too.
It would have made so much. Like, okay. Great Wall, skateboarding. Egypt, what if he was skateboarding down
a
the
pyramid?
pyramids?
He could. I'm sure there's a bridge, like a London bridge that he could be skateboarding along or something.
Sure. Yeah, and then Hollywood, like have him skateboard down like the Hollywood sign or something. Like you could have done it in every single. And then North Pole, like that's easy. Just,
I just like.
Or
I guess he doesn't actually go to England in this game. I just made that up. I was just thinking of things that are skateboardable. You know.
Well, but it's true. Like they could have done it very easily and had that. It's just so funny to me how that stuck with them. And they mentioned it multiple times, like in various different interviews. And it's like, y'all, it happened once.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't be so
about?
bothered by it if it wasn't like a fun thing that they did that they could have like.
Yeah,
there would have been nothing bad about more skateboarding levels in this game, unless they're just hard to program and they ran out of time. But I can't imagine that it's any harder than any of the other platform levels that they did. So I don't know.
No. It's also funny too, because like they talk about how they wanted it to take place outside of Springfield, and like, to be honest, like Space Mutants doesn't really, it takes place in Springfield, but it's not Springfield.
The first level is Springfield and everything else is just any generic game, a Nintendo game. And I know it was a Game Boy game, but Camp Deadly also literally doesn't take place in Springfield. It takes place at Camp Deadly. So it's kind of, because my thought with this game too is like, I don't know. I feel like it does feel more Simpsonsy than a lot of the other games that we played up to this point.
I agree.
So it's kind of funny that like steering away from Springfield ended up somehow made it include more elements from the show kind of accidentally somehow. It's really
so
strange.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's so I 100% agree with that. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand it. The other thing I don't understand is that they mentioned how and I'm going to get this kind of wrong, but they talked about it in that documentary I mentioned before, how they wanted it to be the Bart versus line.
Yeah.
And we talked about that, how that would make sense as like the line of games. Bart versus the Space Mutants, Bart versus Camp Deadly, Bart versus the world, I
still call it Bart versus Camp Deadly in all the time. I can't think of the real name for that game half the time.
But it's just like they mention that as like the thing, and it's like there's 2 games with Bart versus. I guess there's another one coming up, which is Bart versus the Juggernauts. But like they worked on these. Like they worked on Deadly and then the one after this, which is Radioactive Man. I don't know. It's just that stuff is so funny. I don't mean to get really hung up on like tiny details like that, but it was listening to like the interviews and stuff with him, and it was just like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
So you thought that made sense too, and somehow it didn't stick. Like, I don't. It's so weird.
I mean, it's kind of validating because it's sort of like, okay, well, we had the same ideas kind of as the creator of these games, just somewhere down the line, probably some corporate approval stuff, someone else at Acclaim who has approval or something like was like, no, call it Escapes. No, don't have the verses in the title or whatever, you know? So it's probably something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then, so one thing I do want to mention too, is like, I'm kind of waffling back and forth between, information about versus the world, information about Space Mutants, just like we said on the last episode, like it's all just like so close together and like, so in their consciousness is like connected together.
That, mean, when you play this game, you can tell that it's by the same people who did both of those other games.
Yeah. So anyway, I in that same documentary, I'll note that Gary credits Greg Fishbach, the president and CEO of Acclaim at the time, for being brilliant enough to identify a property before anyone else knew it was going to be big. So we talked about how Space Mutants, like Fishbach basically called him up and was like, hey, this new thing is dropping today. Like, check it out. Like, see if you can make a game out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Gary goes on to talk about how coverage at the time of versus Space Mutants, I think he cited specifically this Variety article, cited as one of the a good example of a television or movie licensed property succeeding in gaming, right? So there were others at the time, like Ghostbusters, I think was pretty popular. But, you know, I think as we kind of, you know, talked about it, there were major flops that kind of led up to that. The big one in everybody's mind was E.T.
Right.
And so I just think it's important going into the context of versus the world, you know, thinking about how Space Mutants, I think they looked at as like, this could be a thing when they were making it. And then once you get to versus the world, it's like very much like like you were saying, it could be, it's a success. It's hot right now, but it could be flash in the pan, but we're pretty sure this is a hit, right? So like just kind of the changing of the mindsets, I think, between the two of these games was just something that I found kind of interesting, right? Like the popularity was there for the first one, even though I don't think it like sold, like it sold pretty well, just not like gangbusters.
Sure.
And then this one I don't think sells as well as Space Mutants, but still like the concept of, we have this property that we want to try something out with versus like, this is now an established thing.
Right.
And now like, it's a big thing we have to make, right?
Makes sense.
Just a different mindset that you have to think about, I think, going into making a game like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I kind of feel that with this game because it does feel like they really were trying to branch out and make it feel bigger than Space Mutants was in many ways, you know?
Yeah. I think that's fair. And I think too, they end up, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but like the timeline is a little longer for this game. So they have a little more time to polish it.
I kind of can tell because I feel like there's more details in this game.
Yeah. Although it's still not a lot of time, which is still funny.
Sure. Yeah.
It's still, it does. I agree with you. Like there's a lot about this game. Like they specifically mention how, they had someone who was dedicated to making Bart's movements like fixing his movements, essentially, like the jumping and stuff like
okay.
that. They like fixed that kind of stuff, and I could tell that, like, playing the game, like, it felt better than the platforming did, like tiny bit. Like,
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't like a huge jump, but it felt way better to me.
Sure.
I mean, it's still not like
But
Mario.
the whole like jump button and run button being the same button thing is still the dumbest design choice I've ever seen in my life. So until that's fixed, there's work to be done.
Yep. 100%. So, just jumping back in. So the developers had, like I said, because of where we're at with the game, they had a little more autonomy, I think, with Space Mutants. And I think they still did with Versus the World. One thing I noted when I was looking at just like interviews and stuff with them, they seemed to note how much more involved Fox and the showrunners were with Versus the World than with Space Mutants.
Okay.
And this is just me hypothesizing a tiny bit, but it was based on the number of times that in the interview that Dan did, he mentions Fox involvement more than when Gary is talking about Space Mutants, right? So it seems very much like they probably got more notes and things like that from the studio and from the showrunners. So Dan mentioned that, like I said, they wanted Bart back in Springfield, right? Like the developers of the game did. And it actually was, now that we're branching out a little bit, it was actually Fox that said to make it go broader.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that wasn't even like an idea from the studio.
Okay.
That was from Fox, and when I say Fox, but it was either Fox or the showrunners, right?
Sure.
They also told them, apparently Fox was the one who came up with the skateboarding idea. Like, it wasn't them. It was Fox who was like, what if he's skateboarding on the Great Wall?
So these guys just don't remember the games that they worked on.
They don't remember
25 years
games that
ago.
they worked on.
Or
Like,
30. Well, wait, no. What was this, 1991? So it's like over 30 years. So, of course, they don't remember anything.
I mean, I don't think that I if I misrepresented it at the start, I apologize. But I think it was very much like they were like, yeah, like, well, let's do a game like with, you know, it. As they're like telling the details, it's like, it makes sense to me that they're like, yeah, well, this was like the concept, and then we went from there. But like, it's just funny to me that they were like, it's like Fox who was like, no, he's gonna go on the Great Wall and like skateboard down it. Wouldn't that be cool? And then they were like, hey, that is a great idea. Let's run with that.
I mean,
kind of thing.
Yeah, my gut says that, like, whatever they say, I feel like any feedback's coming from Fox, the network, more than it's coming from the showrunners, because I can't imagine, and that because they're busy on the show, fucking like Graining isn't gonna have time to consult at these fucking like shitty video games that are coming out in a few months. Like, I'm sure it's probably all network executives, but all that said, I do believe it when they say that they had more involvement from Fox in this, because I feel like my biggest takeaway from this game was that this is the first game that we've played that feels like it's made by people who have actually watched the television series The Simpsons. And it seems to at least be trying to mimic like the humor and sort of like snark and cynical jokes of The Simpsons in a way that no other game has done, even the arcade game, to be honest.
There actually is. This is the first game that I would say has a laugh out loud. Maybe not laugh out loud as being generous, but like a very funny joke at the very beginning when they're going through all the contestants of who submitted art, and they show the art that the different contestants have made, and then they get to Bart's. It's funny.
It's really funny. That is the whole setup for this game is like genuinely really funny. It feels like very. It doesn't feel like a Simpsons episode, but it feels like a game based on the Simpsons TV show, particularly, for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree with it feeling more Simpsons-esque. Like this, it really, truly, which is funny, again, like we said at the jump, like, even though they're not in Springfield, like it shouldn't feel that way, but it does. I will also note that apparently they noted that, and I say they, I can't remember which brother it was, but they noted that they'd specifically asked for like the Bartman costume be a pickup. And they also wanted to incorporate featuring Krusty the Clown for whatever reason, which is funny because after this, 2 games later, we're going to get a full on Krusty the Clown game. So like, I don't know why. I guess Fox is just pushing it for some reason.
There was a Krusty the Clown spinoff that they had been working on. I don't know if the timeline matches up though. Actually, I just looked it up. I think that wasn't until 94. So, but the fact that by 94 they're thinking about a Krusty the Clown spinoff, like it's a whole weird story. 'Cause it was gonna be like a live action thing with like Dan Castellaneta playing him in live action. Truly unhinged idea. Obviously,
I want that.
Didn't happen, but I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah.
But all of that's to say, even if this is before that's like actually going in development, if it gets to a point in 94 where they believe in Krusty enough to do a spinoff of him, and for that to be the first Simpsons spinoff idea that they have, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of years earlier, at the very least, Fox themselves is sort of like, this Krusty guy seems to have some juice to him. I feel like maybe this is the guy that we want to put our chips on, you know?
Yeah, and I also can see too, just like merchandising with Krusty is like is probably like up there with Bart too, of like being something that's easier to sell, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
So I totally get it. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I really just want to highlight a lot of this just to talk about like some of the inner machinations of the development, because it's a question we've been asking, right? Is like, how involved were the studios and the showrunners for each of these games? And I think we're starting to see that ramp up at this point.
Gotcha.
The other thing I really wanted to touch on really quickly was I talked a little bit about the timeline in terms of when they kind of greenlit making the game. I'll talk a little bit about the actual timeline for how long it took to make the game.
Okay.
And again, this is where neither of them really remember. Gary, one of them, so Gary says that they got like 8 to 9 months to work on it. Dan said that he thinks he only had about 6 months to work on it, which was longer, I think, versus, I think Space Mutants was like 4 months.
That's absurd. It's absurd.
Right?
To make a game in 4 months.
I just am like, it is fascinating to me. I did try to just like pinpoint like in the 90s, like how long does it take to make games? And it looked, from what I could tell, just cursory research, it is between like 6 months to a year is kind of like the span of time that like games are getting cranked out. Now, whether or not that is the appropriate timeline, you know, I don't know, but
sure. But that feels more appropriate for a Nintendo era game at this point. Like, I think that makes sense.
And it's funny too, and I had this in my notes, but I ended up taking it out. But one of the interesting things that I had found was that and the brothers talked about this, was the way in which Nintendo, because I mean, we talked about the whole gaming crash in like the 80s. Both Gary and Dan were working at Activision when the crash happened, right?
Wow.
Like and they ended up leaving Activision to form a different company. And anyway, the Nintendo, right? We talked about how Nintendo comes in and they clean up the scene, so to speak, and like have like the Nintendo seal of approval. And their timeline, the way they get games in, it was either you got it in like when it was due, or you got like pushed all the way to the end of the queue, right? And so it helped with like because they had like a longer QA process, is my understanding, for why they did that. And they like slated things in very specifically to make sure everything was going to work and be a good game. But if you missed your window, you got pushed to the end, and so then you're like delayed for a lot longer. So it was a different form of crunch, it feels like to me, right? Because you're still like trying to meet a very specific timeline, and often it's probably not enough time to get everything done. But it was done in the essence of making sure that like you weren't just getting garbage cranked out, like what happened with the bubble in the 80s.
Yeah.
But either way, I think like looking at that timeline of the Simpsons games, plus a lot of the things that they talk about in their interview in that documentary, like I said, it's just interesting to me because like we get 4 Simpsons games in the span of a year.
Yeah.
And granted, one of them they don't work on, but
3 they do. So
3 that they develop, and like I'm thinking back to like that whole like idea of like, you know, all the garbage and shit getting cranked out in the 80s, and that was one of the reasons why there was the bubble. And it's just funny to listen to them talk about like that period of time, and then versus like the new, regime under Nintendo and stuff like that when everything was better. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you're still cranking out like a licensed IP that's like not really that great. Like at the end of the day, like
like notoriously so. So, yeah.
So what does that leave us with? So we have a short development timeline, studio involvement, which like Acclaim and Fox, right? Like are both kind of the studios that I'm referencing there.
Sure.
Which I think a lot of people nowadays, when you think of studio involvement, it's like that's probably a bad thing, but not necessarily.
Yeah, it can be. It totally depends on the situation, and I do think that Fox in 1991 is different than like Disney in 2024, if that makes sense, in terms of like who's making decisions and for what reason and how much sway and power they have. I do think Fox was a little more creator driven and creative driven and at this particular point in time than what a lot of studios are right now. So it's not as much of a red flag as I think you would expect it to be, I feel like.
Yeah, and I do think that it does, in this instance, rather, it does lead to a better product, I would say.
I would absolutely say that. 1,000%.
But I think that Acclaim has a lot of, we'll call it skeletons in the closet, kind of. Going
kind of like
on.
the skeletons that Bart fights in the Hollywood level?
Just exactly like that. That's exactly what it was based on, the future skeletons. But either way, it is time, I think, for a brief history. And right now, let's talk about a brief history of shitty game development practices.
Fun.
Y'all didn't think we were going to do it because we went straight into the game. But then we did it. And I just like that I just jump scared people with a brief history. At least I hope I did.
40 minutes into it, they're like, finally,
40 minutes into it.
Finally, we got one where World War II isn't going to be mentioned and we don't have to talk about stocks or whatever. And then suddenly...
You can't turn it off now.
Too late.
Can't turn it off now. Get ready.
Now, there is more evidence that the video games industry is facing tough times. Sony is laying off 900 employees at its PlayStation division. The cuts include the closure of an entire studio in London. Now, Sony says it's trying to get the business ready for the future and admits the industry has changed immensely. Riot Games also announced layoffs last year.
It is really rough seeing all of the layoffs. It's heartbreaking. You know, we've all had friends lose their jobs, and it's very disheartening to see. Something that you can do with a union, though, is you can bargain over the terms the company has to take before a layoff happens.
We have a strike authorization out. It was approved at 98.32%, I want to say, 98%, which I think is a pretty resonating call for action and for a need for this protection. It's, AI protections is a very central part of our bargaining focus.
This is a really human industry, and we're really bad sometimes at showing developers what they're worth and showing the players at home that we care about them. It's kind of the elephant in the room, especially surrounded by all this opulence.
The big studios told us that the AI wasn't going to replace anyone or anything like that, but immediately afterwards, there's been mass layoffs all across the game industry.
Huge news. Epic Games says they are laying off hundreds of people, about 16% of their staff. The news was announced to employees this morning, and owner Tim Sweeney said, "For a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn. I had been optimistic that we could power through without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see this was unrealistic." Epic is building a new headquarters campus in Cary at the former Cary Town Center Mall.
And the winner is Baldur's Gate 3.
So I thought Jason or cinematic director was going to pick up this award, so I didn't prepare anything. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing a talk tomorrow, so I didn't prepare anything for anything else. So I hope we're not winning anything anymore, because otherwise it's going to be really painful. I was walking here and I said, you got to do something in case you win something, and I didn't have anything. And then the speeches here have been so good and basically stole my thunder of the things I wanted to talk about. So about stopping war and about stopping the greed, which has been fucking this thing up for so long, ever since I started, I've been fighting with publishers my entire life. So it's like, and I keep on seeing, I keep on seeing the same mistakes over and over and over, and it's always the quarterly profits. The only thing that matters is the numbers, and then you fire everybody, and then like next year you're going to see, shit, I'm out of developers, and you're going to start hiring people again, and then you do acquisitions, and then you put them in the same loop again, and it's just been broken and broken and broken. You don't have to. You just can make reserves, slow down a little bit, slow down on the greed, be resilient, take care of the people, don't lose the institutional knowledge that's been built up in all of those people that you lose every single time, so that you have to go through the same cycle over and over and over. Right? So, because it really pisses me off. Anyway.
So, to start things off, there is no world in which we're going to talk about every shitty game developer or tactic, because that would be an entire podcast series, and I'm sure there is one devoted to that. But I do just kind of want to zoom in on what's been happening this year in gaming, and then zoom out a little bit to focus in on Acclaim, the publisher, and a little bit about Imagineering. And Imagineering is not really, there's nothing really there, but we'll just cover it just to cover it. So first thing I want to note, in 2023, by the end of the year, there had been well over 10,000 layoffs in the video game industry. As of March this year, there's already been close to 8,000. And I'm not going to try and give a huge grand reason as to why those layoffs are happening. A lot of them are the result of mergers. Some of them are studios and publishers shutting down. Lots of folks want to tie it to the overexpansion during the pandemic. But the one thing I will say is that when you look at the numbers, it just doesn't really make sense to me. And what I mean by that is when you look at the actual sales and how much money the fucking video game industry brings in, it doesn't make sense why so many people are being laid off. So this is from Statista. It notes that in 2024, the video games market in the US is projected to reach $78.01 billion.
Unfathomable amount of money.
And that's just in the US. When I was originally doing this, I was looking at larger, and I was it was something like 300 billion or something like that. And that's up 14% from last year. So they're also projecting an increase in user penetration from 24%, which I think user penetration is how many people the games reach and are actually playing them.
I hate that phrase, user penetration. Weird. That's a terrible phrase.
Dude.
But it is interesting though, because I feel like so many industries now you hear about downswings for things, and so many industries are struggling, and that's and layoffs, as much as they suck, at least I can understand why that's a thing that's happening. But to know that the video game industry seems to be doing great, compared to a lot of other especially media industries right now, that shocks me, actually.
Well, and let me just be super upfront and frank with anyone who's listening. If I got any of these numbers wrong, it's because I'm an idiot and I don't know anything about economics and stuff like that. But I just pulled this from Statista, and I do know that I mean, you read about the video games industry being on a downswing, but then you look at projections and stuff like that, and it's regardless of if 78 billion is higher or lower than it was last year, it's still a lot of fucking money. It's still a ton of money. And I don't know, it's just the other piece about the market penetration going from 24% to 26% in 2027. like that to me just means like it's still growing. Like they're still expected
Sure.
to have more people playing games in the future. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to like wrap your mind around it, especially when it's like numbers that big, but it doesn't really feel like something just isn't right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a growing industry, there's been massive layoffs, and not even just like layoffs, but like there's been big companies like Take-Two laying off 5% of their workforce after saying they didn't plan to lay anyone off, and acquiring another large company, Gearbox Entertainment.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's just like, we're just scratching the surface of like the stuff that's going on right now.
It's
like,
every day if you follow,
Yes.
any game developers or like anyone involved in that industry, like every day you'll hear about like one of your most beloved like small indie studios getting acquired by a bigger studio, and then completely everyone who worked there getting fired or laid off. Like it's a constant news of that keeps coming out. Like it's the same story every time.
Well, and it's also just like the dishonesty, like portion of it as well too. Like the fact that like, and I get it, like things change, but like saying like we are not planning to lay anyone off like at the start of the year, and then 4 months in laying off 5% of your workforce, like that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
like
pretty awful.
It really does. And I think that a lot of it is, I mean, it's hard not to just like say like it's greed, right? Like it's really hard not to say that, but it's also hard not to say that it's just corporations just completely fucking mismanaging this whole situation. And then it ends up with like usually the CEOs and like the people at the top being fine, but then other people's lives being completely upended, and like it just sucks.
Late stage capitalism, baby. That's
Um,
life.
And I do think though, like, because we're talking about a licensed property, like I think that it's natural, like for my mind naturally goes to like, what are these companies willing to spend money on that isn't the people that's working for them, right? Like they'll spend money on licensing things that will make them more money. Like I think about like how many IP some of these companies hold, and it's like, yeah, they might not be able to just sell those off or anything like that, but they've bought them, and I don't know. It's just like it's so hard to like comprehend. We don't need like a billion Marvel games. We don't need a billion like, you know what I mean? Like licensed property games.
I think the weird factor with that too is like, we've talked about this before, but like tie-in license games are kind of like notoriously not good most of the time. Like it's always kind of a miracle whenever like a tie-in game is actually good. You know what I mean? I mean, even, you just called out like Marvel. I don't think there's not as many Marvel games as I would expect there to be given the MCU. But if you consider like ones that have come out, like the Avengers game, which I will say I do like the single player campaign in that game. I think people were a little too hard on it, but it did ultimately tank, and people like really hated that game overall. There are like things like that still happen where you get something that should be like a big IP that a company probably spent a ton of money on and then fucking fails at it like pretty catastrophically. Like that game was meant to be like a forever online multiplayer game, and it is dead in the water now, like a truly capital D dead game now. And that's absurd to think about for something that's like the biggest, one of the biggest, most popular franchises out there right now, how much money just got sunk into a game that then didn't really get the proper like thought and time put into it, that is just dead now,
Yeah. And like that's exactly where like my mind goes, is like, I mean, how many, and that was, I think, Square Enix, right, that made that. Like
it was Crystal Dynamics that did that one.
Oh, Crystal Dynamics. So like I don't know like how many people they've laid off, but like I think about like, going back in time, like how many jobs could they have saved if they had just not put all that money into acquiring the Marvel IP for that specific game. I don't know. It's again, I'm not an economist like at all.
Yeah.
I just play one on a podcast. No. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know, man. I'm always like for like the people, and like seeing people who like, again, their whole lives get upended because of this shit. Like it sucks. But Anyway, I did just want to spit that out at the top because, like, I think the state of the industry right now fucking sucks.
It does, yeah.
And it's not ever really been super rosy before, like in the past. So let's talk a little bit about where it's not been super rosy. So to get us back on track, Acclaim. I will say a majority of the folks that we've talked about up to this point have been devs under Imagineering, which is not affiliated with Disney. There is Disney Imagineering, and then there is just Imagineering Entertainment, which is a separate thing.
Okay.
And like I said, I debated putting some of the history for Imagineering in here, but there's just not really a ton to talk about. Gary and Dan Kitchen formed Absolute Entertainment after leaving Activision in the 80s. They name it Absolute so that it's higher alphabetically than Activision, which Activision also did when they formed as a company when people spun off from Atari.
That's actually hilarious.
Oh, it's so fucking funny. It's so fucking funny. And then Imagineering was the in-house kind of dev studio for that company, for Absolute Entertainment. The company lasts only about 9 years. They go bankrupt in 1995, but Gary Kitchen and David Crane, they create another company, so they're fine. Some of their employees come to work for them, so that's cool, but I don't know what happens to the rest of them. But I'm being a little bitter and unfair. I don't actually know like the full story behind that, but
yeah.
I'm sure it's not great for most of the people working for them.
Yeah, it seems to always be bad, leading towards a bad outcome.
But on to the actual meat, which is Acclaim. So Acclaim was in the business of tie-in games. It wasn't the only thing they worked on, but they worked on a lot of them. So from WWF WrestleMania to for the NES to Knight Rider, Total Recall, Beetlejuice. They published Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I put Game for some reason. In my notes, but Terminator 2 Judgment Day for the NES. They worked on Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. I don't even know what that is.
One of many Spider-Man games.
Yeah. And like the list goes on of like licensed property games that Acclaim works on. Like that is truly their bread and butter.
Many of those are very popular games too. So
yeah, and that's like early on, right? So like you can kind of see like where this is gonna go. Like they're gonna take off, right? So in 1986, jumping back a little bit, Greg Fishbach leaves Activision and then a year later founds Acclaim with a number of other former Activision and Accolade employees. Derek, do you want to take a guess as to how they came up with the name Acclaim?
Because it would be higher than... Oh, wait, no, it wouldn't be higher than Absolute Entertainment, though. I guess it will be higher than Activision.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah, that's funny. That's so funny.
So dumb.
But you know, I wonder what the brainstorming meaning like that comes up. Like, do they literally just crack open the dictionary and just start looking up words? Like,
why didn't they go with like 1 or like 10 or something or 100? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think because then if if any directory spells it out instead of using the number, I think you would run the risk of that. I do get the idea of just starting it with A, but it's like at the end, like you keep playing this game and eventually someone has to just name their company Aardvark or something, which wait, is there a gaming company called Aardvark? That sounds really familiar.
I bet there is.
There probably
is. If there is. I'm going to look that up now.
I feel like I played a game by an Aardvark something.
Aardvark Software. Yeah. Aardvark Software is a game company. Looks like.
No, I feel like they did like an educational game that I played or something.
Play It Again Sam in 1988, Sharky's 3D Pool, Duke Nukem 3D, 3D Pocket Pool, Duke Nukem 1 and 2 Remastered, Zalaga, don't know what that is, and then Frack.
Never mind. I don't know how I intercepted with Aardvark.
You cracked the code.
Yeah.
That would be the highest in the alphabet, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, that was just so funny to me. Where it was just like, oh yeah, we spun off and we made this company because it's gonna be higher in the alphabet. Oh, now we're gonna spin off. We're gonna be higher than your company. And
they're fucking babies. I love it.
Nerds.
Man,
they're
children.
such big nerds.
Yeah.
Anyway, Acclaim rises, like I said, by licensing. As you might imagine, they gain traction with things like the Simpsons titles, as well as the rights to Marvel, NBA, and the WWF titles. But the biggest thing that really propels them to success is by getting the rights to port Mortal Kombat to consoles in 1993.
Oh, genius. How long had Mortal Kombat been in existence before then? You know?
Good question. It probably would, I think it was 92? 92.
Okay. Okay, so it
like,
wasn't
yeah.
around for very long before it just hit its popularity very quickly.
Yeah, because I think Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were like two of the ones that helped like give the resurgence to arcades when we talked about like arcade games.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it was around that time. It took them a little while to figure out how to port it to consoles, but they figure it out.
Yeah.
In 1993, I guess it's not really that long. It was a year after. Which is like kudos to them for like landing that, because that was massive in arcades. And
absolutely, and it was big in consoles.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that actually led to their first controversy, and it's hard to really call this a controversy, but they were one of 8 game manufacturers named in a lawsuit brought about by some of the victims of the Columbine shooting. Yep. That case was dismissed, but it was one of their like early legal battles, and it was specifically because they were the publisher for Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember those conversations. Mm-hmm. Can you believe they ripped the spine out? It's so violent, ruining our children.
I mean, to be fair, I feel pretty ruined. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm saying right now.
I feel ruined by living through mass shootings at schools that have, with nothing having been done about it other than people being mad at video games, which clearly solved all of our problems in America, as we can tell now.
Yeah, we got the ESRB, and there was never another school shooting after that.
Yep.
Anyway, that's such a cynical. But you know what? Sometimes we're in a cynical section. This is all just cynicism. So, in the mid-90s, Acclaim goes on to acquire a bunch of studios, and they expand their campus. They buy Valiant Comics.
Oh, weird. And
then
that happened.
They then just spread themselves like way too thin. Like, of course, because they're like kind of flying super high, so they're like, we got all this money, we got to spend it. And then amid their acquisitions and amid this period of time, they start running a ton of really infamous promos, some of which you might have heard of. First up, in 2002, so we're jumping ahead in time a little bit, but Acclaim releases Shadow Man 2, or the actual title, Shadow Man 2 Ekant Coming.
Oh my God.
Because it's spelled with the 2 for the S.
Okay, whatever.
Which is the sequel to Shadow Man, which was based on a comic series published by the comic studio Valiant that they acquired. Mm-hmm. Did you know? Have you ever heard of the Shadow Man comics?
No, this is all new to me.
Yeah, I've heard of the game, but I didn't realize it was based on a comic. Turok, I think, was based on a comic too, and I had no idea.
Weird. Okay, didn't know that.
But sorry. One of the marketing, I shouldn't laugh at this because it's so absurd, but I guess it is because it's so absurd. One of the marketing tactics that they come up with for Shadow Man 2 Ekant Coming was to offer royalties to the families of people who had recently died to put ads for Shadow Man 2 Ekant Coming on their headstones. And
that is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. That is like so like that is what you would that's like if that was in like a capitalism satire movie, like it would be like over the top. Like that's like I don't know. This is like idiocracy bullshit.
It is.
Like
it's like what are we doing?
Jesus Christ.
And it only gets worse from here. One of the things, so it is funny, but I also think I wouldn't care that much about it. So eventually they end up saying it was an April Fool's prank, but I don't think that was true. I think they got a ton of backlash for it.
Cover for it.
And,
good Lord.
And yeah, they tried to cover for it, but one of the things that is really fucked up about this is that they had mentioned, one of their PR people had mentioned that people particularly, they thought the idea would particularly interest poorer families because they would be able to pay for their funeral costs, but just at the small price of putting an ad on their loved one's tombstone.
All of this is so weird too, because it's like, I mean, the idea of like putting of the sort of bleak, like dystopian idea of people having ads anywhere on their person, like that's always been a thing, you know. It's like people, even now, like you could theoretically, people have gotten paid to put ads on their personal cars that they have, right? Like this
Sure.
thing you could do, wear shirts that are ads. But it's like, why did they not go to any of those and went straight to Headstone? Is it just because they specifically wanted to be edgy and because that would be a funny marketing thing that people would talk about how edgy it is?
I think so. I think a lot of the ideas they come up with are specifically for publicity. I also think that Shadow Man is about like death and dying and
I guess that
people
makes
coming
sense. I
back to
forgot that
life
it
or
was
something.
a tie-in for a specific game. Actually, that makes sense.
I mean, here's my thing. When I think about like in the grand scheme of things, what they could have done would have been like, hey, we're going to pay for the funeral costs for a bunch of people that, can't afford it to help them out as a good faith thing. Also, we have this game coming out. Like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have
There's
to
ways to make it work and not just be literally slapping an ad on a tombstone for all time. Also, it doesn't make sense because like then it's permanently on someone's grave for like all eternity for a game that like will be on a console that will inevitably be out of fashion, like even if the game is popular. So whatever, it's stupid, all bad.
I don't know if they even. I don't think they ever thought the idea would work as much as they thought this is an idea that can get us publicity.
And it did.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
Next, ahead of the release of Turok Evolution in 2002, Acclaim offered parents $10,000 to name their babies Turok Jr.
That's honestly,
I
kind of love that. Actually,
that's fine.
I kind of love that.
It eventually morphed into them ended up offering people $500 in an Xbox if they just legally changed their name to Turok. I think it might have been like for the duration of a year or something like that. And my understanding was that there was like a sort of sweepstakes where like you would enter and then 5 people would win, and it was either like you all had like to enter you had to change your name, or like only the 5 people who won had to change their name. I don't 100% know how that worked out, but here's the part that's shitty. An investigation in 2020 revealed that dun dun dun, no one actually legally changed their fucking name. The 5 people who actually won were actors that the PR firm paid to just come to the event and say they changed their name.
I mean,
it doesn't. It's just dumb. Like it's just annoying stuff. Like it's like why? Like just if you're gonna do that, like go all the way with it, man. Like or have another idea. Make the CEO of a fucking Acclaim change his name for a year to Turok.
Honestly, that actually is a brilliant, like, consider how much fun people had with like the president of Nintendo being named Bowser. Like, just by accident, like people fucking love that shit. Yeah.
Acclaim, I'm right here. If you want to hire me, actually you can't because you don't exist anymore.
I actually didn't realize that Acclaim didn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, we're getting to that.
Oh, okay.
We're getting to that. Anyway, there's this whole investigative report that uncovered the lie on VG247.com. It's a fascinating read if anyone wants to check it out. I kind of glossed over the details, but if you're interested, it'll be in our extended show notes to go check that out. But it's just like, why go through the hassle of like hiring a fucking I don't know. It's just do something with that's like has more guts. Like is my thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the stupidity keeps coming. In 2002, ahead of the release of Burnout 2, Point of Impact, a racing title, Acclaim ran a promotion saying that they would pay the fines for anyone caught speeding on the day the game released, which was October 11th.
Oh my God. Like the thing is, when you first said that for a second, I'm just sort of like, that's actually kind of cool that they're paying fines for people who are like speeding. But then I'm like, wait, no, you're advertising this. People are going to speed specifically
for a racing game.
That's so irresponsible. Oh my God.
I think they got in a lot of trouble for it too. I don't think they got in like any legal trouble. I just remember reading that they were like, they can pay the fines if they want to, but we're letting you know like you're doing something that is irresponsible, like to like do this.
Yeah, like I wonder how many accidents got caused because of the game.
again, just brainstorming. Not really slimy way to do this would have been to say, to celebrate the release of Burnout 2 Point of Impact, we paid these speeding tickets for like, 1,100 random people that we found that sped over the course of the year. We're not doing this again, but like, this was like a good faith. Like, you know what I mean? Like then it becomes like
you get tons of good publicity and people celebrating how cool you are. Like for sure.
Let's see. They also promoted Virtua Tennis 2 by painting pigeons and releasing them at Wimbledon. So they painted an ad for Virtua Tennis on pigeons and released them at a fucking tennis match. The VP of marketing at Acclaim claimed that, quote, the Wimbledon tournament is famous for the occasional descent by pigeons onto the center court. But our advertising pigeons are trained to go straight for the fans and flap their logos in front of them.
Okay, first of all, you can't. Why would you be able to even see what's painted on the pigeons? Like there's pigeons in a fucking tennis game. Stupid. And also, I can't imagine that they did this safely. I'm sure those pigeons fucking died from being painted. Like,
I don't know,
it's not,
man.
Painting animals isn't a good thing. I'm sure it's possible to do it safely, but I'm sure that it's also way easier and more likely that they didn't. So,
Yep. And these kind of like shitty stunts made Acclaim fairly notorious around the time, but it's only like, that's only that part of it is not the only practice that they did that was shitty on their parts. They've also been sued multiple times and at least twice by celebrities. So first up, we have Dave Mirra, famous BMX biker, rest in peace. He had licensed his, I don't know why I spelled licensed wrong. Nobody knows this, but I spelled it wrong a bunch of times in my outline that's bothering me now that I'm saying it. So Dave Mirra was a famous BMX biker, and he had licensed his likeness to Acclaim for a series of BMX games. Acclaim made the first in 2000, Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX, for the PS1, GBA, etc. And then later a sequel, like the next year, which was Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2 for the PS2. They were sort of riding on that train of like Tony Hawk popularity and things like that.
Yeah, all those extreme sports things were very in at the time.
Yeah, and my understanding is like the Dave Mirra games didn't sell as well. They definitely didn't sell as well as the Tony Hawk games. Like nothing really did in that genre. But like they just kind of did okay. They started working on Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 3, but then decided to pivot to nudity. The next title they ended up developing in the BMX series was BMX XXX, a game that mixed all the sexiness of PS2 pixelated breasts and BMX biking, I guess.
That is the lamest thing I've ever heard
in my life. This makes me so mad. So fucking mad.
Straight people are so corny. Like,
it's dumb. It's so dumb.
And also, I'm sorry, I've been turned on by the weirdest shit in the world that you could ever imagine in fucking cartoon characters and stuff, but I've never understood people who've been like, Laura Croft's like triangle boobs really turn me on. Like fucking like PS1 and PS2 graphics. The fact that anyone has ever like found that shit like hot in any way blows my mind. Like what the fuck, man? I don't understand.
And I'll be honest, I did not dig in too much to like see what it looked like, and there was like one screenshot on like the Wikipedia article of just like, not obviously like nudity, but it was like, it just looks like really shitty PS2 graphics, and I'm like, who wants this?
Who wants this?
Who cares?
Fucking like, and get laid for real, losers. Jesus Christ,
it's so
like,
dumb.
Good God,
this it gets worse, Eric. So like the whole shtick is like obviously that there's nudity in it, and you could make a topless biker as your character. And then you could also unlock live action footage of strippers performing at a strip club in New York. Like, why?
Hysterical.
What? What?
Like, I'm not even like, I'm not a prude or anything like that. Like, make a fucking sex game. I don't care. But like, I don't know. There's something about this that feels very like, it feels, I don't know. It doesn't. People make sex games all the time now.
For sure.
You can find like, what is it? Itchy.io or whatever that place, that game site is where you can download indie games and often for free. Half those games are fucking sex games people make. It's fine. It's an easy
they're
thing.
all over Steam too. Like,
yeah.
You know,
it's a thing you could do. There's something that feels weird about like a studio that has like licensed IPs and stuff, like doing it and then also doing it in a way where they're not even really being creative about it. It's just like, you can watch a video of strippers in New York. Like, I don't know. Like,
it's also
be better about it if you're gonna make a sex game.
That's my thing. Again, like just like we said with all of these other like publicity stunts, it's like go all in or like don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you really are just like we're just gonna make a sex game, then just make a fucking sex game. Like what? Like if I want to play like Tony Hawk, I don't want to like play Tony Hawk with someone who's naked. Like I want to play a skating game. Like
right. It's so
it's
silly.
just weird. It doesn't like add up. It was just kind of like let's just do something like it's their brand of like just let's do something edgy, get a lot of attention for it, and like kind of go from there. This game was in this part of it is like it's like whatever, but like it was banned in Australia for a period of time. It's like banned from being like streamed on Twitch, which like
no shit.
That kind of stuff is like whatever, but like it is just like one of those things where it's just like it doesn't seem like it goes together. Like like why do you want to see someone riding around on a bike topless? Like
yeah, it's not really.
I don't get it. Like I really don't get it. Like it doesn't add up. Anyway, that's not even like the whole controversy part of it. So as the development of the title went on, Dave Mirra asked not to be associated with it, and at first, like from my understanding, at first they were like. Again, they were making Dave Mirra 3, and then they just kind of like pivoted, and they were like, "We're gonna make Dave Mirra. It's gonna be BMX XXX." And
yeah,
even the people working on it were like, "What?"
That's that. Yeah, that is really the true like core of the shittiness for that. That it's like this is specifically something that has someone else's name on it that didn't sign off on it, and you're sort of like it. Yeah, I mean, if Dave Mirra came to them and were sort of like, I want to make an XXX game, I want to make a porn game with me in it, it would be a different story. It'll be maybe a little weird, but it's like it's sort of like if that's what he wants to do with his image, yeah, maybe go for it. But like the fact that they decided that for him and he had to strike it down, that's fucking weird.
Well, and here's the kicker: he ended up being like, hey, I'm done. Like. Y'all can make your BMX XXX game. Like, I just don't want to be a part of it. And they're like, fine, that's cool. No worries. Like, we won't promote it, with your likeness or whatever. And then, of course, they still did. Yeah. And so that's when he ends up suing them for like $20 million in damages.
Sure. Yeah, it's fucking
which he
wild.
Should. He like 100% he should have.
Yeah, it's so gross.
It's stupid.
Speaking of so gross.
Yeah. And so enters the Olsen twins.
Fucking finally we get to talk about the Olsen twins.
Yeah. We are here.
We've all been waiting. We've all been waiting for this moment for so long.
I was trying to think of like an Olsen twin thing to say. And
you got it, dude.
That's the one. But what came into my mind was Give Me Pizza, but
oh, yes. Give me pizza. Pizza.
Give me pizza. Pizza. Give me pizza. Pizza. Now we're feeling kind of hungry. We got to make a munchie. Time to make our pizza as big as some countries. How much pizza do you think we can chow? More than our parents would ever allow. We're gonna make a masterpiece of pizza. A work of art like the Mona Lisa. It's gotta be high like the Tower of Pisa. But to get there, you don't need a visa. Pizza.
So, in the myriad of Acclaimed licensed properties were Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen games. Acclaim published, from what I could find, 8 titles for the Olsen twins. A 9th was planned as a tie-in for the animated series, Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action, but that was eventually canceled by Acclaim. That kind of soured their relationship, it seems, and in 2004, Acclaim failed to pay royalties to the Olsen twins, and the twins sued. According to the lawsuit, they missed a payment of $177,966, but with back royalties and a settlement fee attached to it, the twins ended up suing for $300,000. They also sent a letter to Greg Fishbach, the CEO at the time, which said that Acclaim had blatantly abandoned the Mary-Kate and Ashley brand and had taken the Mary-Kate and Ashley brand in video games, which had flourished and has now run it into the ground.
Okay. Well, it feels dramatic, but you know what? That was a strong brand at the time.
Listen, it was. And they were super powerful. I mean, not powerful. They were like super rich, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And a lot of that was due to like a lot of licensing their likeness for shit. So,
oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So I do one other thing, and this doesn't have to do with Acclaim, but like will always call this out when I see it, but like gaming journalism can just be a fucking cesspit. Like in terms of, I'm not gonna cite the worst thing that I found discussing like the Mary-Kate and Ashley lawsuit.
Oh, look,
I sent that to you.
If you're reading anything about young underage girls and you have gamers talking about it, it's never going to be good. Even in a professional setting, they always find a way to be fucking creepy pedophile sounding guys. So take that as you will.
It made my blood boil when I read that. Like,
was that
truly
on IGN?
No. That was GameSpot. I think it was a GameSpot article, the one I sent to you.
Yeah, but another like major gaming website. So especially in the 2000s, fucking height of that kind of creepy bullshit.
So creepy. This one was not in the creepy realm, but it was just like annoying. Like this IGN article talking about a lawsuit starts out, you either love them or hate them.
That's like the Merriam-Webster's opening. Like Merriam-Webster's dictionary, Webster's dictionary defines this as, it's like the equivalent of that for an opening for an article.
It's so fucking lazy. Like, why do gaming writers feel like they have to be clever? Like, why can't they just write about stuff?
To be fair is not the phrase that I wanted to start this sentence with, but also kind of weirdly a little bit in their defense, that just was the way that everything on the internet was being written in the 2000s. Like that's the television without pity style of writing about everything. Like you can't write about anything in media without it being snarky. That was just the style at the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like you either love them or like you're talking about a lawsuit, like. Why? I don't get it. Whatever. Anyway, that was basically it. So they sue them. That's the other celebrity lawsuit. The last pieces of shittiness from Acclaim actually tie into like a little bit of what we're seeing in the gaming industry today, and in that kind of like poor management. So in 1995, and again, we're just jumping around timeline wise a lot. In 1995, they purchased a company called Sculptured Software and acquired its employees. I don't know if I fully understand all of the details, but essentially they buy the company and then they have some stock options, and the employees like sign new contracts, I think. And then the company Sculptured Software is eventually restructured and renamed and overseen by a different company under Acclaim's umbrella, right? So they buy this company, move it around, change it around, a lot of what we see today in like the gaming industry. In 1999, they restructure and rename again. The company becomes Acclaim Studios Salt Lake City, and then 3 years later, the company is completely dissolved as a cost-cutting measure. 70 employees are laid off, and essentially they being Acclaim, violate the terms of their own contract, which enables the employees to then be able to sue them. However, it's this situation that Acclaim sets up, and I don't know how any of this is legal or why this happened, but like basically the employees can either take a severance package or they can choose to sue them like under a class action lawsuit. They can't do both for whatever reason. And it's just like, again, it's just like another example of just like wild, just like shitty stuff that they do as a company. Another lawsuit alleged that Greg Fishbach himself had encouraged the head of Acclaim Entertainment. This was another company that Acclaim acquired because it's acquired so many different places, to rush games and generally just make bad financial decisions. Like that was a lawsuit that like the head of that studio, I think it was the head of the studio, like made when he sued Acclaim. And then in 2004, that's when it all starts coming crashing down. MLB revokes their license for Acclaim. So Acclaim had a license for to make MLB games, followed by the owners of Turok. They revoked their license because, surprise, surprise, Acclaim did not pay. They missed royalty payments to the Turok license holders. And then in 2004, the company closed all of its studios, let go of all of its employees, and then filed for bankruptcy a few months later.
Now they've gone the way of the dinosaur, just like the dinosaurs in the Turok games.
Oh my God. Yeah. I will say it doesn't end quite there. Greg Fishbach and other executives were sued for $150 million in damages, and they were outed in court documents as making really shitty decisions that led to the company's failing. So a GameSpot article covering this suit said that various defendants manipulated the books of the company during fiscal years 2000 and 2001. In those years, the trustee alleges that Acclaim accrued large systemic cash flow deficits, and that as a result of desperately needed additional financing to stay in business. For the fiscal year that ended in August 31st, 2000, Acclaim reported a net loss of $113.8 million on net revenues and $188.6 million as of the end of August 31st, 2000. Whatever. I don't know what most of those numbers mean.
I don't give a shit about these numbers. All of that means that they just overspent money.
They mismanaged. They mismanaged.
Oh, really?
However,
the company that like painted pigeons and released them onto a tennis court. They didn't make good money decisions.
Who could have thought? I will note that the founders, Greg Fishbach included, like, the suit alleged that they kind of made out like bandits. And this is quoting from the court docs. As a result of their stock holdings and executive positions, and despite Acclaim's severe ongoing financial problems, defendants Fishbach and Skreeonk, that's one of the other founders, were able to secure employment contracts that provided them with rich salaries and benefits from Acclaim without requiring them to devote full or even passing attention to their company duties. So essentially, they got paid a ton of fucking money to do nothing, is how I read that.
Love it.
It goes on to note that Fishbach had a base salary of $775,000 and 3% of the net pre-tax profits of the company up to $50 million, and then 3.5% of any revenue over $50 million. Plus, the other guy that I mentioned, James Skreeonk, and others benefited from this like weird cash flow scheme that I don't know how it's legal, and it might not be. I don't 100% know if this was like a actual thing that they could face legal trouble for. But so essentially, this Skreeonk guy got fees from other companies. The two named were Jamar and then Jansko. And then according to the documents, like, this is the kind of shit where I'm just like, it just makes me so mad. Despite his connections with Acclaim and all his compensation during the 5-year period leading up to the filing of the bankruptcy petition, the directors of Acclaim permitted Skreeonk to pay purported sale commissions in sums of like over $1 million to Jamar, which ultimately were for Skreeonk's direct benefit. So he's working with these companies. He's on the board of Acclaim. He's like one of the, he's working with Acclaim, and he is getting money from that company. He has in his contract that he can get money from this specific company that Acclaim is also paying millions of dollars to. And then he also collected commissions from Jansko, which Acclaim paid $1.13 million to in the years leading up to their bankruptcy, which he was able to collect commission on as well. Like, yeah, there's so much more to this that like you can keep going, and I'm just not gonna do it. But basically, it's just like the people at the top were getting rich and like had like these schemes going on, and like while the company like spreads itself way too thin, and then eventually crashes after they make just a ton of shitty decisions.
Sure, all of this to say being that shouldn't feel bad for ragging on dogging on these old games, because it's all the fault of Acclaim anyway for making them push out these like shitty products essentially for the sake of greed.
Yeah,
that's what it all amounts to, because all the proof is like there from before and after these games came out that it was just like a dog shit gaming company. And anything good that came out of them was probably just sort of incidental or thanks to creators that were able to like cut through the bullshit.
Yep. And I mean, I also just like, again, just given where we're at, like with the gaming world today, like it feels very similar, right? Like where it's like they acquire all these companies, they lay off a bunch of people, they make poor management decisions, and the people at the top get rich, and the people that are just working on the games and actually doing the work get nothing, and oftentimes have their whole world upended, and it sucks.
This isn't the last Acclaim game that we're going to be talking about, right? Do they do a bunch of other ones?
No, there's more. There's more.
This was just the time to talk about it. Yeah.
It just felt like it because, I don't know. Just felt like it.
we didn't have to talk about World War II in this episode, so this seemed like a good time to dig into this for the big historical aspect of it. You're going to have to be working hard for some of like the big history things for the next few games, probably.
You know, I got a few things up my sleeve.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
I think Bart's House of Weirdness. There's probably a way to tie in just talking about the nuclear family, and I don't know. We'll figure.
Look, this is all a surprise to me every single time. So,
you knew we were talking about the Olsen twins. You knew that was coming,
but I didn't know what the context for that was, other than it had something to do with Acclaim. I didn't know that they literally sued the gaming company.
You didn't know that you were also going to have to hear about a stripper BMX game and
then basically listen to like Marketplace on NPR.
If that was Marketplace on NPR, we're all fucked. Truly. Anyway, that's it for that chapter.
Thank God.
So let's talk about the show at the time. Let's talk about some fun stuff. So the 2 nearby episodes. Actually, if you want to talk about these, jump into these two.
No, I think you could say the title of the first one. Didn't you study German in college?
So it's Burns Verkaufen der Kraftwerk is the name of the one episode, and then I Married Marge, which were the 2 that were both released in December of 91, I think, right?
Yeah, both were there was the only 2 episodes that released in December of 91. We don't know exactly what day this game released.
Which is weird. Like, I don't know how
that's not documented. Yeah, it's very strange. Maybe it's just dependent. Yeah, both of them are good. I mean, the Burns German word, it's a bunch of German things because it's the episode where Burns sells the power plant to a bunch of Germans, and then Homer loses his job as a result of it.
Buy low, sell high, that's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy. Have enough, boys.
Oh, thank you. My English is not perfect, but I have to tell you, your beer is like swill to us. Do I have that right? I'm saying that only a swine would drink this beer.
Yeah, but thank you anyway.
Hey, you guys aren't from around here, are you?
Ach, nein. We are from Germany. He is from the east. I am from the west.
I had a big company, and he had a big company. Now we have a very big company.
We are interested in buying the power plant. Do you think your owner would ever sell it?
Well, I happen to know that he won't sell it for less than $100 million.
100 million?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, don't worry. We'll still have enough left to buy the Cleveland Browns.
That one, oddly, is like always in my memory. Been an episode I didn't like, and then I rewatched it yesterday. That episode's so fucking good. It's
good.
So good.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I
don't know why what was in my head that I didn't like about it, and I think as a result I like wouldn't revisit it ever because I just remember not liking it. Fucking love it. It's so good. It's got the fucking Land of Chocolate sequence. It's amazing. One of the most beautifully animated sequences in the entire show. It's so good.
I wonder if it was like we watched it when we were younger and it like
I don't care about like stocks and job layoffs and stuff. Yeah, that probably is what it is. So it didn't imprint on me as much.
There is like an uncomfortableness that I always feel in This Is Just Me thing, where it's like when he like sells the stock and the family's like,
I was going to say the exact same thing. I think that it's so funny because it's like as many times as ridiculous things happen over the course of The Simpsons, whenever they do something that's like so realistic that I feel like is a mistake that I could make, where like they are just shy of getting not even a huge windfall of money. It's like $5,200, which is a good amount of money, but it's like could be like kind of life-changing, but it's not like unfathomably life-changing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what makes it feel so real. They like just miss $5,200 extra because Homer sells his stock too early. And the irony being that like he actually did have some insider information that Burns was thinking of selling. And if he'd thought through what that meant, he wouldn't have sold a stock, and he did. And he made $25 instead. And it's just like, it makes me so anxious and upset when I watch it. Cause it's like, I've been in that kind of position where it's like, if I had just waited 1 second longer, if I waited 1 day longer, or if I had known one extra thing, or if I did one extra thing, I could have saved or made so much money. Like it's so upsetting.
It's so upsetting. I will say that $5,200 in 1991, just according to a quick Google search using the CPI inflation calculator, is it's close to $12,000.
Okay, never mind. That actually
so
is
it's a
very
decent
different.
amount of money.
That's a very decent amount of money. I mean, even in the episode, they make jokes about like Bart dreaming about buying a car or whatever.
Yeah.
But like Marge is basically like, we can have a savings account now. Like that's kind of where it lands on. And I'm sort of like, you know what? Yeah, if you just gave me like $10,000 right now and been like, you can't spend it on anything right now, you're just putting in savings. That's still like, okay, I have a real savings account now. That's more than what I had before.
I think that where I like my growing up, like, and our family, like, not like anytime there's something with money, it stresses me out because of just like that being a thing when like I was a kid, like money was like tough to come by. Like, so it's like that always makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I will say this episode, I remembered very little from it because I think I hadn't rewatched it a ton, but I kind of was in the same boat where I like watched it and I was like, that episode was really freaking good. I liked it a lot.
Good. Yeah. I'm mad at myself for not revisiting it more often.
Well, there you go. It has the great joke too of like,
now don't worry. I think you'll find that these two gentlemen are as American as apple pie. Hans and Fritz, well, that's just John and Frank. Ich bin ein Springfielder.
And then he says their names and it's like clear they're, German. Like, it's very funny.
It's good. It's good. No, that's a great episode. The other one's I Married Marge, which is a much more iconic one. It's about, you know, the literally when they get married and Bart is born.
Bart, Nietzsche, come here for a minute. You know, son, the day you were born, I received the greatest gift a man could have. As the years went by, your mother and I were blessed twice more. And not a day goes by that we don't thank God for all three of you.
Homer, I'm not pregnant.
Yeah! Whoa! Excellent, Marge!
Yes!
Yeah, I mean, that's also good. That is one that I've revisited many times. It's a great episode.
That one has, I don't know if it's the first time, but I did clock that there was a Space Mutants poster in the background of that episode when they're going to see Empire Strikes Back. So that was a cool connection.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite jokes from The Simpsons is just the Empire Strikes Back joke.
Wow, what an ending! Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Ah, thank you! Oh, thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
Marge, you're as pretty as Princess Leia and as smart as Yoda.
Oh, Homer.
So good. I will say, I think that, again, like these episodes, the game developers didn't have any idea of what episodes were going to be coming out at the time. I do think it's interesting. I feel like Burns' Verkaufen der Kraftwerk is a little more, it kind of fit in with the theme of the game.
It does. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It's interesting. I mean, and here's the thing, you know, I think we've talked about, like, Burns has just consistently been, he's been the main villain in 3 out of the 4 games we've covered so far. And, you know, and part of it was because in the early days, there weren't really a lot of villains in the show that you could pull. It is kind of funny that in this game, like, Burns is like Bart Simpson's arch enemy rather than like Homer's. But even, and, you know, like the way that the level of villainy that Burns has in this game compared to like in the show where like at this point, he isn't like the supervillain he would be in like the Who Shot Mr. Burns episodes. Like is genuinely just an old rich man who is a bad corporate boss, you know? He's not like super evil like he is in these games. But it is sort of predicting how the show would use him in the future.
For sure.
But it is funny because like that episode of the show does end with Burns like hiring Homer back and just threatening like the sword of Damocles will one day drop on Homer. And it's like a joke where it's just sort of like, we know the status quo Homer just has to work in the nuclear power plant. And like, that's just their excuse to get him back. Burns is just going to forget who he is afterwards. And that becomes the running gag that he doesn't remember who Homer Simpson is. But then in the context of this game, you can sort of pretend that it's in the continuity with this episode. And this is Burns trying to drop that sword of Damocles just on the entire, and just murder the entire Simpson family. And that is his grand revenge on Homer. Like, I kind of love looking at it through that lens. Completely unintentional, but it's very funny just the way that it lined up like that.
That's great. Like, imagine if this came out like before that episode and it was like, this is the prequel to Bart versus the World.
Yeah, sure.
That's awesome. I'm very glad that we're looking at like the 2 or couple of episodes that are like nearby, because it has gotten me to rewatch more of the show. And like I said, it's weird because like I always think like I've watched every single episode like multiple times, and I probably have, but like just finding these episodes where it's like I don't remember that much about them is just fun. Like, it's just really fun to just be like, oh yeah, like I forgot what happens like when he sells the power plant. And you're right, like that is where the chocolate animation scene comes from. Like, but
yeah, it is always really nice. There's episodes that I have 1000% memorized, like, and could just close my eyes and revisit it. So it is nice to then encounter the ones that I haven't done that for. And then, well, now I have a goal is to memorize those too. So
yeah, for sure. In terms of the characters introduced by games, I don't remember what we said in the last episode, but we're up to about like 103. And that's, again, this is the thing that I was using for this. It just kind of like stops doing it by episode and just starts doing it by season. So we're like midway through, I think, season 3 at this point. So I don't know. It's like 103 ish.
Sure.
It doesn't really matter because like there's not very many characters used in this game.
So they reference like the card, the card game you get lots of references from it. And the trivia too.
That's true. Yeah.
All the trivia is just from the first 2 seasons, which kind of checks out because it's like that probably was when they were working on the game if this came out midway through season 3.
Yeah. And speaking of that, let's just jump into the plot and thoughts of the game because
cool.
Dude, I will tell you. So I texted you when I like first started playing it and I was like, I don't even remember what I said, but like, honestly, like when I turned it on, there's a practice section and I never honestly have like, I felt like there was a weight like lifting off of me when I got into the practice section. I was like, oh my God, it's not just like annoying platforming. There's other stuff to do.
Oh my God. Yeah. 1000%. I think that it
was so good.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that there is a practice option at all is already such a step up from the past games where they just throw you in and don't tell you anything. And then none of the controls make any sense. Like this one, it's like you can actually learn how to get a tutorial, learn how to play the game. And there is like, I'm not going to pretend like there's a ton of variety compared to like something like Super Mario or something, right? But compared to the games that we have played, just adding those mini games into it automatically, like this game skyrockets in the variety of types of things you can do in it.
Like truly when I was like, what? I was like, wait, there's like a match game that I can play. There's a shell. I get excited about shell games. I don't know why. I just love a fucking shell game.
Sure.
But like when I saw that, I was like, okay, hold on. I was like, we're in business right now. Like this is great.
Yeah.
So real quick plot synopsis. Not that it matters, but Bart enters. Bart enters an art contest on the Krusty the Clown show, sponsored by the Simpson family arch nemesis, which we just talked about, Mr. Burns. The trip will give one lucky winner and their family a trip around the world.
Yeah.
And so the game is essentially set up, like you said, Burns is trying to get Bart.
Yeah, basically the only reason that Bart wins this contest, even though his art is like dog shit and like hilarious, like it's literally
funny,
literally a stick figure compared to like a watercolor painting that Todd Flanders did and like a portrait of Burns that Martin did. and then Bart's ugly like child drawing of Krusty as a stick figure. The only reason that wins is because Burns rigged it because he's like sponsoring this, and he rigged it to get. It's so convoluted when I think about it. He rigged this so Bart would win this contest, which would mean his family would get to go on this Krusty the Clown treasure hunt around the world, and then Burns would try to kill the whole Simpsons family throughout this treasure hunt. That's the plot of this game.
Yeah, that's the plot.
It's really absurd, but I love it. I do think
I like it.
I was really my eyes kind of lit up when I realized that the opening cutscene was just in universe the Krusty the Clown show. Like,
it was cool.
That already is sort of like, this immediately feels like The Simpsons. You've got Mel with the Sideshow Mel doing the slide whistle. Like, I think they even do like sound cues with the slide whistle.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so good, you know? I mean, there's not much to it or anything, but this is so far and away from like, suddenly there's aliens or Bart and Lisa are just in a camp, like with a new guy. Like it feels like they really did try to find something that was part and parcel to the television show and do something in the world of it. It's still silly and ridiculous, and it's not as funny as the show is, but it does feel of a piece. It feels of a piece with The Simpsons as a franchise now, you know?
Yeah. And I will say too, so one of the things that in one of the developer interviews, they talked about how, and again, this is so far like my favorite joke, I think, in any of the games, the picture piece, Bart's like, the thing that wins the contest for Bart, just being that really shitty stick figure drawing. They talked about how that was just like Barry Marks just came up with that joke. Like,
funny.
It's not like a thing that like they got from, you know, Fox or from any of the showrunners. Like, it's just a good joke. Like, I love it.
That and the opening too, like the jokes that are very Simpsons-y, I think, is like Krusty talking about like collect, like the treasure hunt is for his like licensed merchandise. So it's for Krusty licensed merchandise and a lot of the cheap stuff too. And becomes a running gag of it's sort of like Krusty the Clown boats and Krusty the Clown ice cube toys and a bunch of cheap junk that no one gives a shit about, which again is very Krusty the Clown. He's like known in the show for putting his name and his brand on a ton of stuff. So he is both obsessed with merchandise, and a lot of that merchandise is absolute bullshit. Like, great joke. And then also the idea that like, I think he even says that whoever the winner is becomes like the sole property for all eternity of Mr. Burns. That is just casually thrown out there. It's like this like dark kind of cynical humor just about like how fucking stupid capitalism is and consumer culture is, just casually thrown in there. And I'm like, yes, this is the kind of humor that I've been missing from these games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 1,000%. I also think too, like, just the idea, we haven't even really talked a ton about it yet, but like the idea, like when I saw trivia, I was like, there's no way there's actual like Simpsons trivia in this game.
Good trivia.
It's good trivia.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited. And Derek, there is, I don't know if you know this, there's like 50 questions.
That's so funny to me because I was already getting repeats. So it's funny that they didn't shuffle them very good. I'm glad that there are that many.
So I'm going to I have to shout out, let's see, True Subsane on the IGN walkthrough boards who published this in 2003. He published like all of the questions in the trivia minigame, and there's like 55 of them.
That's incredible. It's good too because it's like it is a nice combo of like some that are easy and then some that aren't. And it's all from the first 2 seasons, which I think of like, God, how quaint it used to be if you wanted to be like a Simpsons aficionado and like win at Simpsons trivia night, you'd only need like 2 seasons worth of information. And now it's like, I don't know if I would do any well to Simpsons trivia night because they might ask a question from like the 15 seasons that I've never watched, you know, like it's absurd. In addition to like the 10 that I've obsessively watched that I've still missed details of. Like there was a couple that I got pretty much all of them. The only one that I think I missed from when I was playing it was like the name of the baseball player on the baseball card that Milhouse gets. I could not remember who that was. And there's another one about like somebody who comes to Springfield Elementary and teaches the kids about nuclear power, and I don't remember who that name was. It would be names of incidental characters, really, is what I would always forget.
That's wild. I didn't get either one of those questions.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think mine... I took them down somewhere. I'm just like fishing around the list of questions, just like looking for some of them. But You know, I think like I got where did Bart set off a cherry bomb, which is like it's funny because it's like
I mean, the toilet is the one that immediately comes to mind.
That was the answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toilet in the boys' room. And then I got like stuff like that. And then what was the other one?
Oh my God, what is Bart's blood type? When does that come up in the show? Because I would have never known that.
So some of the ones I got were what was Grandpa Simpson's first name, which I did like the options for this. It was Abraham, Methuselah, and then Homer Sr. We're like,
that's pretty great.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then like I said, the cherry bomb. There was one that was the answers for that were under Principal Skinner's desk and in art appreciation class.
That's really good.
And then this is the one that I didn't get. After his accident, when he was hovering between life and death, why did Bart get kicked out of heaven? And I was like, I don't even remember what that's referencing initially.
Yeah, when he gets hit by a car, right? I think that's the Bart gets hit by a car.
But like, so the options were he spray painted the clouds, he spat over the side, and tied an angel's wings together.
He spit over the side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
Yeah. Well, goody for you. I got that wrong. But what's nice, it's fine. What's nice is that you can go back, like even if you get the answer wrong, you can go back in and do it again.
This game is very forgiving in the mini games. Obviously, you know, in the main platformer, it's a Nintendo platformer, but in the mini games, it is very forgiving. And I think, and they're like optional too, right? That's only to get the best ending.
Oh, yeah.
Is doing the mini games anyway.
I completed 0 of the slide puzzles because I suck at slide puzzles.
I love that it's there, and I think like if I was a kid playing this, I would absolutely sink so much time into doing it, and I'm positive that I could eventually get them. But now as a fucking 30 something, I don't have the patience for that. I can't.
I spent a ton of time trying to get the one in the first stage, and I got so close, and then I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I don't need to do this. There's no reason for me to do this slide puzzle. But I do like that it's there. It is I love that it's there. Yeah, so let's just jump into like the worlds or the locations that we get to. So first up is China. That features card match. Again, love it. Trivia, love it. Slide puzzle, it's whatever. And then platforming on the Great Wall. And then this is one of the ones that there's a little it's not great. The boss in this one is Fu Manchu Burns.
Sure.
Which is Burns is like, they're all like weird distant relatives, which I thought that was a funny joke.
I think it's a funny joke that it's always like, oh, my great uncle's cousin's first nephew or something. Like it's like the joke is always that it's someone far away, and it's like they get progressively more, not progressively. They're like they waver between being like normal to being completely absurd. Like one of them is literally just a Yeti. So like, you know, they're not taking this seriously at all. I don't think you could take this into Simpsons canon that these are real Mr. Burns family members. Though it is funny after the Camp Deadly one that it's like 2 games in a row. It's just Burns' family members. So weird.
It's so weird. I also, not to spend too much time on the trivia, I have to call this one out too. So one of the trivia I got in China was, what is the name of Bart's teacher? And the options were Miss Sourball, Miss Crabapple, and Miss Glumpus. They're just
great.
Good names. Like I thought that was really good.
That's really fun.
And this is the one where you get to skateboard down the Great Wall. I thought that section was fun. It was a little unforgiving.
Fun. Yeah.
But it still wasn't like, it wasn't that bad. Like I kind of wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
There's like a dragon a couple of times, which is weird.
So I mean, they pull out all stops of the stereotypes. They have enemies that throw firecrackers at you because it's China. They have dragons that shoot fire at you in the Great Wall. It's China. And then they have Fu Manchu Burns, which is just whatever you are thinking right now. That's what it is. Like it's nothing original about it.
Not great.
Yeah. They again could have done worse. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't change what his face looks like. If you know what I mean. So
yeah.
They could have done a worse stereotype. Yeah. And he attacks with a fan too, of course. So, you know, it's whatever.
I will say that battle, like the boss battle in that one, it took me a little bit to figure out because I think he'll knock your bombs away, or he knocks bombs into you, and you have to like knock them back. It's weird.
You have to hit him when he closes the fan. I will say I need to reinstall my emulator or get a different controller or something because this stuff was kind of glitching out for me. I double checked the Let's Play and everything. It wouldn't hit him even when I hit the fan, so it was kind of impossible. But I think that once you figured it out, I don't think it's very hard. You just have to hit him like 5 times when the fan's closed, basically.
Yeah. It was something weird like that. It sucks that it wasn't doing it for you. But
I had a lot of issues with the emulator in this, and I was very clear that it wasn't the game's fault. It was the emulator or my controller, one of the two. I just have to troubleshoot with it. But that's a warning to people. Like some of these games are like really horrible to play. This one is not actually one of them. So if you're having a terrible time, then check your equipment because that might be what the case is in that case.
It is the first battle is the worst. The first boss battle is the worst, I think. But you should be able to. It shouldn't glitch out on you, hopefully.
The other things I was going to say about this whole section, the first level, it is on the ship, and it does kind of introduce you with all the little different things. Yeah. But like, you get introduced to the cape where you can become Bartman and fly around. There's like a little secret area that like is like the one secret I was able to find that I didn't need to find in a Let's Play, where like on the left of the ship, you can like fall off of it and land on a little island with Maggie, and that's how you get one of the extra crusty items.
I missed that. I missed a lot. I don't think one thing I will say, and I love a game that has secrets in it. There are a lot, I feel like, in this game.
Well, there are a lot, and it's kind of weird because the actual good ending of this game, when you get everything, is like really awesome, and I think I really like it. And it sucks that like the actual ending that the majority of people, I'm sure, who played this got is like a real bummer and a real letdown.
Yeah, so that was me.
Yep. I'm excited to tell you what you missed. I didn't get it myself. I just gave up at a certain point because my game wasn't working very well. I watched Let's Play that played perfectly and got everything, so I can tell you all the secrets.
I'm glad because I definitely didn't get a lot of the secrets. I think they did a good job too with like the crusty treasures, like the ones that are like not junk. I think it's really fun, like when you find them, and like at the end of the level, he'll explain like you also found like this many of my like special treasures. You found like a snowman crusty and like that kind of, and it's just they're fun. I kind of like that.
Yeah, and that's how they use the Simpsons family members, is that where they are is usually either helping you or pointing you to where those secrets are, where the secret treasures
I think there was one, I can't remember what stage it was, but Lisa's near one, and I just couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do to get whatever it was. Or maybe I did get it. I don't remember. Anyway, but there is there's just like a lot of secrets in this game, which again, I always like.
Which is fun. The fact that this game has multiple endings at all,
wild, right?
It's pretty unexpected.
It's
honestly.
So wild.
Yeah, it's only 2, and it's just a good and a bad, but like that's still pretty wild.
After Great Wall, unless there was anything else to talk about for that one.
This is not for the China specifically, but just in general. I think it was when the game first started, and I was like, oh no, we're hearing the exact same Simpsons theme song again. I was a little worried, but the music in this game is pretty good. I will say. I think they use the Simpsons theme a lot, but they remix it at certain points. They like add different elements to it depending on where you are, and like it does change. Like Space Mutants was obnoxious because it was just the same 2 songs over and over again. In this game, like depending on what power-ups you have and depending on when you're fighting a boss and cutscenes, like everything has its own little tune. There's still not a ton of them, and it's not the best video game music I've ever heard, but like it's very pleasant and a big step up from what we've heard.
It's not obtrusive. Like it doesn't like at worst, it's just like background music, which is fine. Like there was I listened to a ton of it, and then there was a point where I was just like, I'm gonna like put on a podcast while I play this. So like, but like it wasn't because like the music was necessarily annoying. It was just like I get like what I'm supposed to get out of this, and like I'm fine. But yeah, I agree with that. It was not. It's the best use of the Simpsons, I think, theme so far, and it was the most the most varied of the soundtracks for sure.
Absolutely.
So after China, we go to the North Pole, and this is where we get a good Donnybrook, which I also learned.
Yep, that was a new thing for me. It means like an all-out brawl, free for all. It's an Australian phrase, apparently. Which and the thing is, I do think it's funny because a thing that becomes, I don't know if it's a character trait for Burns at this point in the show. I think that might be something that like Oakley and Weinstein did, but like working very hard to look up like old timey archaic words for Burns to use. And this isn't exactly that. It's just an Australian word, not like a word from like the 1800s, but it does feel kind of akin with what that character trait would be, where it's just like, he's just going to throw out the weirdest sounding word because he's a rich old man who's very out of touch and doesn't realize no one says Donnybrook.
For sure. I'm going to start saying it though now. It's great.
Love it, yeah.
I will say it also is funny to me, like in these interstitials between stages, you have Smithers and Burns, and they just stand stock still pointing at a picture of like the next boss that's going to come up, which is one of Burns's relatives, right? Like, and in this one, and this is where I just took this down just as an example, but he says, call the North Pole and contact my second cousin's nephew's son. We like to call him the Abominable Snow Burns, which like, I love that. Like, it's so good.
I love it. I think it's the best one. I wish that it was, I mean, I prefer this to like a cultural stereotype, that's for sure. But I think it's also, I really kind of love the absurdity of that, because they're almost calling out like, Bart's going to fight a boss anyway, so why not just make it a fucking Yeti? Like Burns is just related to a Yeti, sure, why not?
Yep, and then in this one, we have another sliding puzzle, and this one is Homer. I didn't mention what the first one was. I believe the first one was...
The first one was Marge, and she's holding a plate of food. Says, "Thank you, it's my specialty." But the plate of food she's holding is like the ugliest pile of turd food you've ever seen.
Course.
It looks horrendous.
Of course it is. Of course. In this one, it's Homer, and it says All American Dad, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it says All American Dad, and he's yelling, "Why you little?" It's funny that they didn't have him yelling dough, but "Why you little" is a perfectly acceptable catchphrase.
It works. We have a slot machine in this one, and the slot machine rotates the heads of Millhouse, Otto, and Slideshow Bob. It reminded me
Slideshow
Bob. Just why did I say Slideshow Bob?
He's just doing PowerPoints for you, you know.
That's actually there's a joke there somewhere.
Maybe not necessarily a good one, but there's
I mean like a whole bit, like doing like an entire bit based around Slideshow Bob. Yeah, and the slot machine game reminds me of Super Mario 3, which I can't remember was out at the time when this came out. In Super Mario 3, it also had the slide machine as like a little mini game. That was a connection I didn't make while I was playing this, but like there is very much like when you get into Super Mario 3, there's like other mini games outside of the platforming. It's like not as prevalent as this is, but like in that you have, like I said, you have the slide thing for to get extra lives. You also have like the coin ship that shows up sometimes, as well as there's a match game in Super Mario 3 as well that like sometimes appears.
And Super Mario 3 had come, I mean, it had already come out in Japan in like 88, but in America it came out in 1990. So either way, it was already out by this point. So they definitely were probably influenced by that game.
Which is fine. Like I think they're all elements that improved this game. So,
I think the mini games really helped this game a lot. Like you said.
You also have a shell game, which you get to play as Maggie. Which again, I fucking love a shell game. And then the platforming was Ice Caves, and then I think the Ice River are like the two platforming sections. I actually really liked the Ice Caves stage.
It looked cool. Yeah, it was really, I mean, I think that this game feels bigger than Space Mutants did, especially because like they've I mean, part of it, like there's a lot of black space in them. There's a lot of just like floating blocks and stuff. But I think because you have a power up that lets you fly, it meant that they did a lot of like, I think vertical game design. Like there are levels that are just very, very, very tall. And it just made it feel just generally bigger.
The ice caves was the first level I got to, and I was like, oh, there's multiple ways I can go. Like it's not just like super linear. Like I can go, and I didn't know like which way was 100% the right way, which one like closed off the path. But like I was like, okay, I'm kind of impressed. Like they added in like a layer of depth to the platforming that like I wasn't really expecting. In this one too, the secrets were kind of fun. Like you climb up and you find Marge just like standing in the cavern, and she will throw a snowball to you, which you can then knock into a snow statue of Krusty that eventually falls down, and you can go down and collect. But
yeah,
the ice river was annoying as shit, I will say, because if you jump the wrong way, so it's like these, basically it's all flat. You have platforms that you like jump on in the water, and you have to keep jumping on them to like keep your momentum going. If you jump on them the wrong way, they will go the wrong direction. There were so many times when I got stuck because you had to go from like platform to platform, and if you get stuck going the wrong way, you have to go. You can end up going all the way back, or just like taking a bunch of damage from like enemies and stuff, and like, it was annoying, but it was still fun. Like I liked that element of like just changing up going from like literally like actual like vertical scaling platforming to just like completely flat. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then this is the one at the end. There was you mentioned the.
It ends with Krusty referencing an Inupiat phrase. He does call them Eskimos, but I know is not an appropriate. I think it's not appropriate to call it that, but Ariga, which apparently is an accurate thing. Like that is like an Inupiat word,
which I had no idea,
and I didn't know either. And I didn't realize, I mean, this is actually kind of a fun rabbit hole to go down, because I didn't know the difference between like Inuit and Inupiat, and Inuit is actually an umbrella term for like many different like tribes and people that Alaskan natives and stuff. So this is actually a thing. I assumed that they got it wrong, and I thought that they were making a joke about like throat singing or something, because the Simpsons movie makes a joke about throat singing, but this is actually an actual word, and they did their research,
which is fun. So, I will say it's easy to think that, because they also use a term that there is not like supposed to be used at this anymore, but I think they didn't know that in 1991.
No.
But it's I think again, like we're again also too coming from the stage in China, like it's hard to like give them the benefit of the doubt with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Like, where it's like I don't think it's
but I think it's I think it is worth noting when they get it, as far as I know anyway. I don't see, based on my quick Googling, it seems like they got this right. And I think that's kind of worth noting, because they couldn't just Google stuff back then.
And it is,
so
it is. I will say that, like, again, we talked about this at the top, where it's like there is that element of that. It does seem like they made a good faith effort for the most part. There's a few things that they didn't do that with, but like it does seem like they made a good faith effort to have like a tie-in phrase or something like that at the end of a stage to just like teach children. Like it seems like it is a thing. So that is kind of cool. But after this, we travel to Egypt. I'm
sure they're gonna nail all of that.
Yeah. So I didn't get the whole thing for this, but he calls once the family member fails, he calls them like a bunch of insults, and he says that flea-bitten walking fur coat couldn't handle an ordinary little boy. Smithers, cross him off my Christmas card list and get my favorite grand uncle on my mother's side, Ramses Burns of Egypt. And that's going to be the next boss in the next game, or in the next stage rather.
Yeah. Which Ramsey is obviously a reference to the Pharaoh. Like these are not super deep cuts or anything. Although I will argue, I feel like the Hollywood one is a little slightly deeper cut. But it's I mean, their portrayal of Egypt is just ancient Egypt. It's so it's like they have the way that everyone is dressed. They're dressed like how you've seen Egyptians portrayed in movies when they're played by white people. When it takes place in ancient Egypt, it's like straight out of the 10 Commandments or whatever, But and it's like I'm not surprised. This is fucking 1991. That's how everyone portrayed Egypt back then.
I mean, that's how we were taught too. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. That's how we were taught. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the religious stuff that I had would growing up that we would get would be drawings of the whitest people ever in Egyptian garb. So, that's just how we're reviewing all of it. Really, it's only here so they can have the iconography of Bart on a pyramid, basically, fighting mummies.
Which I will say, the pyramid stage confused the hell out of me at first. I didn't know where I was supposed to go to begin for like a hot second, but then I figured it out. The mini games for this one, we have another slide puzzle. At this point, it's kind of like, okay, I guess we're getting a slide puzzle in every single one. It's whatever. We have more trivia, which is exciting, and then the platforming stages are the pyramid, and then I think it's so we have the Great Pyramids, Valley of the Kings, and then inside like the Sphinx, I think are like all of the, or inside the Sphinx is where the boss battle is, rather. Not a ton to really. I mean, there's some interesting platforming elements in these stages. There's like snake block platforming, which I said was like ripped off. Oh yeah, it definitely was ripped off of Super Mario World, because that released on the SNES a year prior to this. So, which is fine. Like it doesn't matter. You do get like the Bartman mask pickup in a bunch of places in these stages as well. And then there's just some like, I don't know, there's just like fun elements again, like with the discovery, like there's some like chasms that you can like go down and like fall down and like find different things. There's enemies that are like tornadoes for some reason.
Yeah. Weird, but
Don't know why that's a thing. There is a really funny, I have the screenshot in here, but there's a really funny moment where like you find Maggie and she's trapped between like three different like tornadoes. It's very fun.
It's so strange. I like the music in a lot of these too, where they sort of like remix the Simpsons theme and do like maybe it's a problematic thing, I don't know, but like the typical Egyptian music that you would hear in movies. They just sort of remixed that with the Simpsons theme, and I found it really clever.
It was good. This stage made me lose my fucking mind, because so early on in the game, there are places where you could like climb, like actually climb, and there aren't a lot of those places throughout the game. And there's a point in the Sphinx place where like I didn't know you could climb, like literally like climb like a ladder-ish thing, because it wasn't clear that like it was a like thing that you could climb on. Like it was just like a rock face or something like that. And there's like the Bartman pickup so you can fly, and you can just like fly past like a bunch of stuff. But I, playing the game, was like trying to get collectibles and stuff, and so like I first used it, dropped down in this one area where it's like massive, like, high scaling or vertical platforming, and I just was like, I don't know how to get back up, because after you lose the Bartman pickup, it's gone. Even if you die, I was like, well, I guess I gotta die and like come back and pick it up again. It's still gone. So I was like,
oh shit.
I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? And like, I was like trying everything. And then finally, I don't even remember if I think I like looked up like someone playing it, and I saw that they were climbing on something, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you can just like climb up these various different, like scale these various different like rock faces and stuff like that. But,
yeah,
it was infuriating. But outside of that, once I figured that out, I was like, okay, this is fine. But I'm sure the person who did the Let's Play just like used the Bartman thing to just fly over everything.
Yeah, I don't remember, but that sounds right. I feel like they used the Bart flying ability like all constantly.
And then the other thing that was tough was like it was hard to figure out that I had to look this up too. Like, you're supposed to go into the Sphinx's ear to go into like the next portion of the stage. And then what's funny, you go into the ear, and then there's another Sphinx inside of the Sphinx that's like shaped like Krusty.
I don't get that one at
weird.
all. And isn't there a bit there where like Homer's there and they just like falls or something like that?
There's a Krusty collectible in the mouth, and so like he falls in the
it.
mouth, and then the crusty sphinx like rises or whatever.
Got it. Yeah, the crusty pharaoh is or crusty. Yeah, it's like a crusty pharaoh shaped sphinx thing. Yeah, very weird.
The boss battle for this one I had to look up as well because I didn't realize you were supposed to grab the thread on the flying, because of course it's a flying carpet.
Of course it's a flying carpet. He's a pharaoh on a flying carpet throwing the canes at you. Yeah,
you have to grab the thread and like pull at it, which was a neat like conceit.
I like that idea,
but I just didn't know that's what I had to do. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
How could you? Yeah.
And then at the end of this one, this is where you get Alf Mabruk, which is 1,000 congratulations in Arabic, but that's not what Krusty says.
They call it ancient Egyptian.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, but I whatever. I like when when he fails, because obviously Ramsey's failed like everyone else. At the end of all of these, Burns is sort of like remarking on like how he's like gonna punish his family member. And this one is my favorite one because he's gonna like write him out of his will, and he's sort of like he's gonna write him out of his will. He doesn't deserve my salad bowl.
So ridiculous.
It's so good.
I didn't talk about the second like platforming. Well, I did talk about it, but like there is one of the things that was interesting. There's these like flying snakes that like shoot fireballs at you. I thought that was a fun enemy. But outside of that, there wasn't a ton really to talk about in that stage. Yeah, moving along, we get to Hollywood, and this one is interesting. You said there was a deep cut for.
Oh, I mean, not that deep of a cut. It's just Eric von Burns is his relative. That's a famous director. He's model actor Eric von Stroheim, who was a famous German, I think he was German, actor and director. He's got a ton of credits. Like I know him from like Sunset Boulevard. He directed a silent film called Greed as well, which I've never seen, but it's a very, very famous silent film from the 1920s. And he looks very similar.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at him now. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that was a fun.
He's Austrian. He's Austrian, not German.
Gotcha. This one, the little like call out is funny. He says, "Quick, Smithers, place a collect call to my Hollywood relative, the most feared Burns of them all, the world-renowned director and actor and tyrant, Eric von Burns. Now he's a Burns we can be proud of and our last hope." And it's just like, why is he? You have an abominable snowman in your family. Why is he the most feared? I don't. What?
Because money is more fearful than being an actual
True.
Monster. That's
True.
what it is. Money and power. And the only person who's more rich and powerful than Burns would be a Hollywood director.
Speaking of the Abominable Snowman, one thing, we didn't talk about the boss battle in that one. I thought that was fun because it was like whack-a-mole. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
The mini games in Hollywood were kind of like, we had Hollywood Moe's, which was like weird and random, but I actually really fucking liked that mini game.
It's a fun one. It is just weird that Moe's opened up a bar in Hollywood and then is just sliding drinks at you. It's just a weird conceit.
It really is, and it's fun because you can only jump. Like that's all you can really do, and that one you just stand on the bar. Mm-hmm. And you have to avoid the drinks that he throws and pick up the pickups, right? And that was fun. I was like really into I got to get every single like pickup kind of thing. The other one is Find the Bats, and it's just pick a door. Like it's literally just like there's 3 doors. You have to pick them in the right order. That's it.
Yep.
Nothing to it. They really felt like they phoned that one in.
Yeah. It's weird that there isn't a slide puzzle because Bart was the last one and he said don't have a cowman. So Lisa never gets a slide puzzle.
But neither does Maggie. Yeah.
I wonder if they were like, oh wait, Lisa doesn't have a catchphrase and we don't want to continue doing the embrace nothingness thing. So we're just going to not. But that's my specialty isn't Marge's catchphrase either.
I don't know.
So
I don't get it.
It was weird. They like they already programmed them. I don't understand why programming a 4th slide puzzle would have been very hard. So
the platforming in this one takes place on sound stages, which is a cool little concept. The first one is set up to look like a pirate ship.
That's okay. That's such
It
a
is.
cop out though, because the very first level of this game was also on a fucking
Yeah.
boat. Like that made me really mad when I saw that. And to be fair, it's much bigger and taller, but it's like the whole reason you're doing a Hollywood level when you could have been going, when the idea was going around the world and they kind of whiffed it on finding another country to do, so they just take you to Hollywood. But it's like, I get the conceit, because it's like, okay, well now we can justify literally any level. It doesn't matter, and say it's a movie set. But then why the fuck are you doing another boat then? Like, be more imaginative, man.
Well, it's interesting too, because like the second platforming stage, I like took notes as I was playing it. So like I took a screenshot and I was like, spooky desert ? And then I was like, the next screenshot I was like, wait, no, spooky Transylvania. Like is I think clearly what they're going for.
Yeah.
But like that
Yeah.
could have just been the other location is like Transylvania or something, right? Like there's so much you could have done with that.
Well, here's the thing that they did do with Hollywood is a secret level that you only get if you're like before you get to the final boss
I did
battle.
see that there was the secret level.
It's the fucking best level in the game. It is so cool, and I'm so bummed. I think you should look it up and watch it. Because it's like you're on basically, it's almost like an Incredible Shrinking Man thing. Because Bart is on an artist's desk and is attacked by happy little elves, which is a fun reference, and like ink and pens as he's on this like giant desk. And then there's a really cool sequence where there's like a film reel that you're next to, and then you walk into the film reel and are like attacked by Itchy and Scratchy. It's so fucking good. It's so cool.
Why did they not just make that like one of the main levels?
A regular level. They should
don't understand it.
because it's genuinely like I don't know playable wise because I didn't actually play that level, but so I don't know how that plays. But in terms of like imagination and like creativity, and like the surrealness of it, it's genuinely like the best fucking level in the game. It's
Do you remember how they unlocked it? The Let's Play person?
I'm pretty sure you just have to collect every item. So like in addition to getting the best ending, you also get that extra
Got
level.
it. Okay. That's so weird. It's annoying, but it is what it is. I will say the platforming in the Soundstage 2 was really, really unforgiving. So like you navigate through this maze of like you go underground, and then you end up in like I guess like a mausoleum kind of sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be.
And the mausoleum is like it's a series of linear like platforms, right? Like so you're going much more, it's a more horizontal stage, but when you go from one side to the other, once you get to like the far right side, then you have to like go up, and then you go all the way back to the left, and that repeats a couple of times. And like if you fall, you potentially either one die, or two, you land on like a previous like platform, and then you're like all the way back. Like it is brutal. There's a series of, have you ever heard of Getting Over It? The game Getting Over It, Derek?
No, I've never heard of
So it's this game that got super popular with streamers, and it's like a platforming game with like really crazy physics, and it's designed so that like you can't die. All you do is like as you like progress, you get to like checkpoints and stuff like that, but everything is like you're constantly going up and like over other things. It's designed in such a way that if you miss a jump, you can fall potentially all the way back and like lose a ton of progress. And that's what this stage felt like to me, because it was like one false move and like you're back at like the, I don't know, 40 platforms ago, and it's just rough.
Yeah.
But thankfully I had a rewind function, so that never happened to me. I would not play that game without that.
Yeah, that sounds horrendous.
Homer shows up in this one, and he looks awesome. He's just like, he's front-facing Homer. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Isn't that like in like the Bible where like you're not, like the Simpsons Bible, where you're not supposed to show them from like different angles or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like frowned upon to do front facing, because that's why why we nowadays have front facing Simpsons meme accounts. I don't know that it's like in the Bible saying do not do it, but it's just like, they don't look good, so always have.
It's just funny. He looks so funny in that, but
yeah.
Anyway, the final battle, the boss battle, is with Eric Von Burns, and he is on a camera, like a moving camera arm, which was fun.
Giant old-fashioned camera throwing the old-fashioned director's megaphones at you.
So
It's
many
fun.
of them.
I like that idea.
And you just fight him as normal. And when you end the game and you don't get all the collectibles, Krusty basically says,
I wrote it down. He says, "Too bad you didn't find all the unique Krusty items. We had a special surprise planned for you. Oh, well, don't blame me. You didn't do it." Which, here's the thing. When I first read that, all he is just saying is, you didn't do it. Like, you didn't get all of the special things. I thought it was a reference. I was like, oh my God, that's such a funny joke. It's like Bart saying, I didn't do it, but you didn't do it. But like that didn't happen until the Bart Gets Famous episode, which is season 5, which is 1994.
That's hilarious.
So like, it was like it's like kind of, you could read it as a call forward, you know, like to like the I didn't do it kid, but like that literally didn't happen yet. So they weren't even making a joke. They were just saying, you didn't do it. So sorry. Like, you didn't collect everything. So it's like ends up being not funny, but it is kind of funny.
I love that, actually. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. If you do collect everything, the special surprise that he's referencing in the bad ending, you get to see it. The special surprise is that Burns and Smithers are there and you get to throw cream pies at them. So it's just a little, I wouldn't even call it a bonus level. It's just a bonus little mini game where you're Bart and you can just throw pies at Burns and Smithers, maybe infinitely. I actually don't know. I think you just do as much as you want.
Oh, that's great.
There's nothing to it. You just move back and forth and do it, and they just sit there getting pies in the face. It's not like, you know, there's no flourishes of animation or whatever, but it is kind of satisfying because it's just like, all right, cool. I get back at the bad guy, and it's fun and silly. It's more of an ending than anything we've gotten in any other games.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. I'm sad.
I don't think it's a good use. I don't think it's a good use of the multiple endings thing for this. Which, you know, obviously that doesn't become a mainstay in games until much later. I think that this is sort of, I mean, it feels a little bit experimental. I don't know how many games at this point have had more than one ending really like this.
I don't know either.
So it does feel like an interesting idea for this to have a good and a bad ending. It just sucks that it's like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, I feel like what becomes the norm is like 100% completion. You might get something extra that's a bonus, but you still would get an ending if you didn't. It is a real bummer that like you go through this whole game and it's like, if you didn't get 100% completion, well, fuck you. Like,
play the game over again
weird.
because it literally just starts over again after that.
Yeah, like that is kind of a bummer. Like that, I'm glad that games figured out what the benefit of multiple endings actually was, because like this is just obnoxious. Like there's a difference between there's a reason that there's like golden endings in addition to good and bad endings. This is like, they made it a golden ending and a bad ending and that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, I still am very disappointed that I didn't get it, but
I think it genuinely hurts the experience because it's kind of incredibly hard to get a good ending in this game, and the bad ending just is it lands like a fucking thud. It just stops.
Well, it doesn't stop. It starts back up again, and then it's like, do it all over again. You sucked. I'm putting this in the chat, but I forgot to put this in the show notes. The manual for the game. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at that.
I did not.
So it's, you know, your standard kind of manual. And again, just like with Space Mutants, I'm very happy with the animation in this. There's some cool, like there's the drawing of like the family on page 13, just like dancing. That's like really cool and good.
Oh, that's fun.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, the artwork's great.
Also on page 6, Bart is wearing a really cool jacket. I don't know what that's about. And then for some reason, Burns is wearing a green suit. Early on, I don't get that either. But
no, you know what? That might actually just be like washed out color from the manual, because I think it is kind of blue and it just is old paper. I think is all it is.
This is something that's really cool. So at the very end, so two things. One, there's an advertisement at the end for bringing home The Simpsons Christmas special. First time on video for $9.98.
Oh my
God.
God.
That on VHS. And there is an ad that says there's a 1-900 number that you can call, and it says, "Hey man, Bart will make a personal call to anyone by name."
Interesting. Wonder how they
Yeah,
pulled that
I don't know. And it just says Bart will call the person by name, joke around, and sing happy birthday, congratulations, grades, job, winner, etc. Get well or happy anniversary. Lisa and Homer are right there with him. Greeting songs include recipient's name. You can even leave a personal greeting in your own voice. Your personal greeting on call can be delivered, blah, 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 blah. Just tell Bart the name, phone number, your personal message, and the date of time you want him to call. A truly unforgettable experience for only $9.95.
That's so cheap. I mean, I wonder how much the fee
Yeah,
for calling
sure
the
it's
1-900
a lot.
number was. But I'm curious how they pulled that off though, because I don't like. Did they have Nancy Cartwright record a whole bunch of names? Was it a sound-alike that did it? It probably wasn't a sound-alike. They probably did have Nancy Cartwright do something, but it's like because I don't think they had the technology to just like have syllable like that doesn't come later where you can like piece syllables together to say anything. So it's like, because I can't imagine they would just have Nancy Cartwright come into the booth and be like, okay, you got to say Jason now. Like, it's just that's so interesting. But I feel like I've heard other things like that came out at the time. So there had to be a way that they did it, that they were able to sort of do it in a way that made sense.
I don't know. I just thought that.
But I just don't know what the process was. That's so cool.
Yeah,
though.
I wish that was still a thing that we could check out, but I'll have to.
Well, there absolutely is stuff like that now. It's
Well,
just like
yeah,
AI
that's true.
voices of
That's
characters.
true. But yeah, I think that this the manual's really cool as well.
Super colorful. Fu Manchu Burns looks way worse than I thought that he did when it's actually drawn in the graining style.
Not good.
Because they did actually make his eyes squintier, unfortunately. So
yeah,
yikes.
it's not great. There's also, I think, probably some maybe offensive stuff in the text itself.
Oh, I didn't even read that. Yikes.
So anyway, it is what it is at this point. Not anything we can do about it. But I will say the art style, just like with the versus Space Mutants, I really enjoy that aspect of it. But yeah,
the box art itself, I think I like a lot too. I think there's so many fun little details.
There is a lot of fun little details. The other thing too is like the game when it starts off, we didn't talk about this. Bart is like going around he's in space, like on his skateboard, like going around the world, which is kind of fun. Yeah, they really went all out on that aspect of it that they end up not using, like his skateboard at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the game at length. Any final thoughts on the game itself?
Yeah. I do know that I think the Master System and Game Gear apparently like is a much worse version where it like strips out actual like storyline cutscenes and stuff somehow. And in addition to changing the music. Yeah. So that's sort of weird.
Don't play that version.
So yeah, maybe stay away from that. But yeah, no, I honestly like generally really liked this one. And maybe that's like on the curve of what we've done. Like the bar has been pretty low for most of these games. But it surprised me, and I think it's sort of interesting that this game felt so much better, even using so many of the same assets that Bart versus the Space Mutants used. So it's kind of funny that it's just like, again, controls aren't perfect. And it's still like at times kind of just like a generic platform that just happens to have Bart there. I wish that there was still more Springfieldian stuff in there, but at least this time they actually justified having that, not having as much Springfieldian stuff because they're literally not in Springfield, exclusively. So, but yeah, more Simpsons-y humor, more Simpsons-y references. The mini games, I think, add a lot. Simpsons trivia is such a fun thing to have in this. Like if you're going to have a game that people are, or if you're going to use something like The Simpsons, which people even at this point were already being very obsessive over, that's like packed with references and things, capitalize on that, So I generally like really liked this one, and I was very surprised about
I forget where we put this in our rankings, but I could definitely see this one going up. From where it was,
wherever we put it, it's gonna go up.
Unless it was like A. If it's A, then like
I'm positive that we did not put this for.
If this was A tier, it's going down. But no, I agree with all of that. And yeah, it was genuinely fun to play, and it was an easier one to like set aside because of how like the game was structured and like the worlds and stuff like that. So like I didn't feel like I had to just like crank it out in one sitting. I was able to play it over a couple of different sittings. Not that that's what the game was set up to do initially, but on an emulator, like it worked. But I agree with all that. I had a blast with this one, surprisingly. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, well I think if we've officially conquered the world at this point, or at least all of Burns' weird relatives, which is all that matters in the grand scheme of things. Of course, if you, that's the listener, not you, Derek, but you will play along with us too as well. If you want to, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm delirious. If you want to keep playing along with us next month, we're covering Bart's House of Weirdness, a game we predicted as a potential dark horse for one of our favorite games. It's not developed by Imagineering and Acclaim. Yay! So
interesting.
That'll be a breath of fresh air. To say the least. If our ideas are intriguing to you and you wish to subscribe to our newsletter, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We are at Simpsons Gaming Pod. You can also email us questions, corrections, or just Simpsons quotes you really like at simpsonsgaming@gmail.com. This podcast is a proud member of the Glitterjaw Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, you can check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com. Derek, where can folks find you online and listen to all of your other great stuff?
Sure, you can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. I do a bunch of other podcasts with Glitterjaw. I have Walloping Websnappers, which I do with my co-host Doug, where we do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. Another podcast I do with Doug is Skreeonk, a Godzilla movie marathon, where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. And with David, I do a podcast called Gimmicks, where we look at the high concept and experimental structure breaking gimmicky episodes of television. And all of those are available wherever you get your podcasts. What about you, Tommy?
Hell yeah. And I actually really quick want to just shout out, I meant to do this earlier. Novel Gaming, one of our Glitterjaw shows, one of our Glitterjaw shows, a show on the Glitterjaw network as well, recently did an episode dedicated to tie-in games. So
like right up our alley for
definitely
sure.
go check that episode out. It's not the latest at this point, but go back and listen to that one. Listen to all their stuff. It's all fucking great.
They have some deep cuts in that.
They do. I was very happy to listen to that one.
It's not like an overarching history of all tie-in games. It's just like them calling out interesting ones that were interesting to them, which I think meant that they end up spending time on deep cut ones that like probably no one else has ever talked about before. So it's some really interesting stuff.
Glad I think it was Vicky brought up like the Lord of the Rings games, and it was like, not spoiler, but like I was like, yes, I fucking loved those games, like they were so good. Anyway, go listen to that. Go listen to all the shows over on Glitterjaw, but especially go listen to that. As for me, I am at awkward on socials, and you can check out my other show, Distant Echoes, a Star Wars podcast, where my partner Cass and I watch each episode of every Star Wars TV series in whatever order we please. We're almost done wrapping up the Bad Batch at this point. Our incredible theme music was recorded by the band whose name you'd love to touch, but you mustn't touch. That's right, it's Max Power. Please go check them out on all of the socials. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook at The Real Max Power Band. And remember, as always, tell your parents to listen to Lee Carvallo's potting challenge.
Or go to hell for some bodacious gaming, dude.
Yeah.
That's Californian for a nice job, by the way.
I forgot how it's so silly. Like, it's silly. All right. Goodbye, everyone.